everyone, I'm Jackie Jing and I'm with Kix and Intero, and we move on to Challenger League, PogChamp versus Polar Ace. I almost said Polar Ice, and then I was gonna do the chills, but no, I got it right.
It's okay.
Polar Ace.
Nailed it.
Kixer just shaking his head at me. By the way, Kix, you gesticulate a lot. Oftentimes I don't get to chat with y'all because I'm usually with the analysts, but I've noticed this since being on cam with you more.
I mean,
Intero smirking. It's
he
not
a
like
gesticulator?
you don't
Is that-
overly. Yes, he's a gesticulator. Yes, that was what I was saying. It's not a bad thing.
I mean.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I digress. We're here to talk about CL play, right? So again, PogChamp versus Polar Ace. Last week we saw Last Dance and Joe Esports. Last Dance didn't come out last, they won. But let's talk about today. Today's matchup means a lot. Intero, talk to me about that. What does this all mean? What happens to the loser? What happens to the winner?
So there's 8 teams in US Challenger League, and they're broken up into groups. So you're going to show on your screen the group that we're in right now, which is A. And of course, the team that finishes first overall in the group is going to go on to play the team that finishes first overall, presumably in Group B. So because PogChamp lost to Rent Free, first overall is out of reach, presumably in this group, right? It should be that way, because Rent Free should be finishing first overall in this group since it is condensed. That means that the fight for second and third is going to be between PogChamp and Polar Ace, providing everything goes according to plan. Now, Polar Ace obviously comes in. They lost to Rent Free 0-2. They defeated Spiker, but Spiker also lost to PogChamp 2-0. So this is going to be an interesting one. If the former goes by any indicator, then PogChamp should be the favorite over Polar Ace. But at the same time, the scoreline might set us up for more of an even match. It's tough to say. But out of all the teams that are in US Challenger League, you would struggle to find one that is as storied and has as much of a legacy behind them as the players on PogChamp do together.
Okay, and Kix, every time we talk about CL play, I like to touch on this, but can you talk about how important CL is and how much it means to these players? I mean, they want to be pro, right?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, you don't just have a lot of contenders in CL. You've got a lot of old professional players instilling that knowledge in these contenders, and there's a lot of talent to be found here in the USCL. I think that there's a lot of potential. I mean, there's at least, off the top of my head, I'm not going to name them right now, but there's at least 4 teams that I could look at and be like, oh yeah, they could easily evolve and push into that tier 1 play. And I think that in North America especially, we've got a really great melting pot of talent. I'm definitely have a lot of hype for a lot of these squads. And these 2 teams we have today in particular, actually, between PogChamp and Polar, they're also going to be really exciting teams to see play. And that's, considering that this is a decider match, mind you, this isn't even like a winner's match exclusively. We already saw that play out. It was Rent Free versus PogChamp. Rent Free managed to take it, and I'm still excited about PogChamp's potential as a squad. So that should tell you something about USCL. It's definitely a pretty important thing. And to answer your question more directly, you can qualify for that tier 1 play in the US division through USCL. So that's obviously the end goal.
Yes, we really enjoy watching the Challenger League. But gentlemen, let's talk about the matchup today more specifically, and let's pull up the bracket and talk about these teams. All right, Kix, I'm going to start with you. You were just talking about PogChamp and how much you enjoy watching them. So what do you expect to see from them today? Do you think that they have what it takes to win?
I do think that PogChamp has what it takes to win, just as like a flat statement. Yes, absolutely. They've got a lot of young gunners on there, like Sweater, for example, like Prod. I think that the experience that players like Trippin and Jarvis are going to be bringing, as well as Ghost, is going to also bolster that whole, overall vibe of the team. They're really solid. They know what they're up to, and I'm excited to see them play. Polar Ace has got some experienced team players as well. I know the name Giddy, for example, but I think there's more veterancy on the side of PogChamp.
Intero, I know Jarvis is your best friend, but Polar Ace, how do you think their chances are today?
Honestly, Polar Ace is a team that I don't know too much about. I'm unlike Kix, I will admittedly say that most of these names are not familiar to me from seasons past of Challenger League. Now, Spiker are not a bad team. The fact that you 2-0 them is obviously an accomplishment, but we saw out of the matchup in PogChamp that it was very clear that Spiker was still working on things, still trying to figure out strats, still trying to gel as a team, etc. And because we don't have any VODs to go back on it and rewatch in regards to how those teams played out, it's hard for us to contextualize that victory of Polar Ace over a team like Spiker. Maybe it was a blowout. Maybe they were both extremely close matches. It's hard to really dive into the nitty-gritty of this matchup without knowing that. What I will say is that on paper, there are few teams in the US Challenger League that have the same level of success and experience and potential that PogChamp does. But as we've seen across all of professional Rainbow Six, potential isn't what's actually loading into the server. Your skill is, and sometimes teams never meet that potential that's on paper.
Well, definitely excited about this matchup. And for the Canada division, I told you all that our teams were ready, and then they weren't. But I believe that our teams are ready right now for Challenger League. So I'm going to let you all begin that matchup. Let's get this thing rolling.
All right, well, thank you very much, Jackie. And just on a moment on your screen, we'll try to breeze through these map bans quite quickly, since we know that you staring at our faces, not usually why you're here. You're here to cheer for either PogChamp or Polar Ace, though I know that there are many of you are here to actually see the beautiful complexion of Michael Stockley. So we'll get through the maps first. Oregon is going to be map number 1, and then that's, by the way, that's PogChamp's pick. Villa is going to be Polar Ace's pick. So we just saw Villa. We're going to get to see it again. We didn't get to see Oregon in the Canada division earlier on. It's going to be Coastline for our very final map. So lots of fragging is going to be on the menu today. What's your take on this map pool?
Well, you said it best, Parker. This is going to be a very fragger-heavy map pool, the most strategic of these maps. Argument between Villa and Oregon. I mean, we talk about how Oregon is currently defender-sided. That usually tends to suggest a strategic map, but honestly, I think that mostly just comes down to how fresh the map is. It's just been added to the map pool, and people are still getting used to it. So probably Villa on the strategic side, but overall, this is going to be a lot of aggression, a lot of just take the fights, and I'm excited to see it. I think that's a good kind of matchup to have in this match.
Yeah, and I think when you look at structure that comes, PogChamp is a team that, with what we've seen out of Sweater, dropping, what was it, over 20 kills in his very first Challenger League match, which was against Spiker on Oregon, which is where PogChamp started in the very first week. They're going to make sure that they go back here and hope that Sweater ate his Wheaties, or I don't know, we're supposed to say, what are they feeding him? Anyway, what are they feeding Sweater? That's the real question that needs to be asked. And I know that Fox A is going to be very curious to know the answer to that question, how many times that we say it.
Pancakes?
Sorry?
Pancakes?
Sure, we'll go with that one.
Yeah.
Polar Ace is going to be starting on defense, by the way. They'll get the very first ban. Maverick and a Capitao, so Thatcher is going to be available here. That is not abnormal, but also not super common.
No, it's, I mean, as an operator, sometimes when you get like a Maverick ban, the other team will cop out of like a Thatcher ban because they're like, no, we want to have one or the other. So maybe it was the original intention, but it's not going to be allowed. Capitao and Mai will be eliminated. That's one cycle of operators, or one kind of utility interlocking nature of operators. I don't really know what to call it right now, but it's like, when an operator's gadget interacts with another and it's in a meaningful and important way. Yeah, one synergy of operators. Sure, that's gone. And Mira will be the final ban, which makes sense on Oregon. She actually has found to be somewhat useful on this map. Pretty solid pick. Although, like with other maps, we've seen her gone by the way, or pushed to the wayside and just unused, unbanned on this map before. So, just an interesting observation with that Mira ban at the end, playing it safe rather than sorry. Nothing too eventful in the ban phase. It's nothing crazy at all. The Thatcher Thermite combo is going to make this a very different game because it is actually rarely allowed.
That's actually that's a good point.
Yeah.
God, it's been so long since we've seen that. Sweater was going to go on to secondary hard breach. That's a role that I'm sure he will do fine on, but he's better on those entry roles, and Sledge is a pretty good fit for him in the way that he plays. As I pointed out, I think he dropped 21 kills on Oregon against Spiker in his Challenger League debut, was it?
Madman. I can go
absolutely
check,
incredible.
Let me take a look.
There you go. He'll pull up the data. Anyway, we're going to get started on laundry supply room downstairs, and there is a rhythm to the way the teams play this. Inside of bunker or blue, it's called both. They're interchangeable. It's currently where Bear and Vivid are playing. You can call it bunker, you can call it blue. I believe its official title is Blue Bunker, but you can just call it one or the other. That's fine. Essentially, what you're going to do is you're going to bring a Goyo and you're going to try to stall. You're going to bring some magnets if you have a Womai available. He's banned, so obviously he's not going to be available here. Bring a Jaeger, maybe put down some ADSs, and the attackers are going to need to take control of blue because you can't attack the bottom of main stairs into laundry like you used to be able to. That hatch over top of the, I guess, would be the entry point to laundry is nowhere near as powerful as it used to be. So you have to kind of change your course for the attackers. They'll likely take control of meeting, which was just shown on your screen. Of course, there's a hatch in there as well that you need to open up, and then you can drop down into box. And it can also be used quite handily by the defenders on a flank.
23 map 1, 9 map 2, and it was a 2-0, so that was Jarvis's scoreline in his Challenger League debut. So pretty impressive stuff. 23 is actually coming close to like record territory. It's not there, but it's close.
I think Yeti has the record for Challenger League, if I remember correctly, but I would need a statistician to back me up on this because we have done a very poor job over the last 5 years of compiling these records. And in fact, you know, there's been considerable discussion as there's the very first kill in Ryu. He takes out Sweater. So this might be a duel of the fraggers. Regardless, Sweater is currently down right now to the Jaeger playing in pillars towards back tower. Let me finish my thought here. We still don't have a great debate. We still have a great debate over how you want to compile records. Is there a difference between LAN? Was there a Pro League record? Does it reset? Yada, yada, yada. We'll let Siege GG and others quarrel over that. I don't really have an opinion. Regardless, it was a great tally from Sweater in that very first match.
Certainly was. After that initial kill, there has not been much of a response by PogChamp. They're working their way into blue, clearing out the ADSs to allow them to get the shield, but they haven't done that just yet. There it goes. That'll force Bear to fall back. Now, there's no pocket reinforcement here, so that wall will just be open. You can see Bear is setting up to use it against his opponent with the bullet holes. He might be spotted there. He's got to be careful, but he's taking the risk, taking the gamble, in the hopes that it will give his team another kill. For now, you can see that PogChamp are just slowly working their way into the site, not overstepping on the execution because they know they've got enough time. They don't have to worry.
There's some damage done from Bear, and right now, PogChamp has not been able to find the score sheet just yet. 35 seconds, they'll try to wait out that utility. They'll breathe in some toxic gas as one of the Maestro cams gets shot away. So, slowly but surely, you can begin to erode this defense, but you're going to have to hurry at some point because the clock is actively working against you. Trippin gets taken out by Inryu as he goes for the plant, and now it's a 5v2. A great start from Polar Ace right now with limited benefit on behalf of PogChamp. Prod springs in, tries to do some damage. He's downed. It's Samuel Jarvis in a 1v5, and it becomes an OV5. How's that for a start to this matchup? Polar Ace, an exclamation mark on a flawless round. And they're up 1-0.
Certainly was significant there. That was a very one-sided map, or rather, excuse me, round.
Oh, is it over already?
Yes, it is. The script dictates that this is done, and we'll move on to map number 2. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you after this short break. No worries.
You should let production know.
I'm sure they are picking up on it. They're very reactive. Anyway, jokes aside, the way that was held out, it wasn't exactly flawless, but it was pretty close to it. And I gotta hand it to Polar Ace for the way they handled their fallback game. That's the key. Every time they were pushed out of a position, the peel was just about perfect. For example, you start off with that kill from Inryu, that he managed to get the kill over by the back stairs. He fell back to Freezer, and then he's still doing work from there. But he got out as soon as he got the pick. He did not linger. He did not suffer as a result of lingering, and it goes further than that. The hold in blue. Wasting a lot of time, yeah, but Bear fell back as soon as he lost the shield. He didn't stress it, and he held a very confident angle through a bullet hole to then later get the next kill for Polar Ace. So it's good confidence, it's good peel work, and it's overall a solid round from Polar Ace.
Now they're going to go upstairs to the dorms bomb site. The beginning of which the name we refuse to say. I have to at once broadcast, yeah.
It's just, it just doesn't
Dear Ubisoft,
fit.
please change it. All right, we got it out of the way. Perfect. We move on.
We're done. Yeah.
We're done. Anyway, dorms bomb site upstairs. Razor down below, as he's going to be anchoring that position with the Maestro. Maestro obviously doesn't have access to a nitro cell. He's got impacts, of which he's already used one, and this might be a cheeky play. Is he's going to hold that security wall, which leads into kitchen. One of which is reinforced, and he's got Inryu just watching with him. So they've essentially established a cross at which Razor's only going to get pushed from inside of that one kitchen soft wall because the Jaeger will be there to stop anybody from PogChamp. And this is something that we don't actually see all that often on this bomb site. You don't usually have somebody dedicated to playing security at all times, nor do you have a second person playing down there, though it is common to see somebody holding white stairs, which is where Jaeger can also watch as he's just a step away from it.
Yeah, it's a weird extension. But who knows? I mean, could work pretty well for Polar Ace. I talked about how well they executed their fallback, and I mean, having an extended roam like that, even in an odd spot, can actually assist you in that in those maneuvers.
Now,
So it might be. Go
I was
ahead.
going to say, one of the things that the Wamai ban is also going to do is it's going to allow the attackers to take attic faster, because we've seen that right now the common strategy for the defense is to put up a bunch of magnets, a deployable shield, an ADS or two, and then just sit inside of attic. And you really struggle as an attacking squad to be able to take that map control away. But it doesn't look like PogChamp is having that same degree of difficulty. They've already done a lot of damage to Bear, and Giddy is now gone as well. That's the mute that was playing close to the site. So if you're the Maestro, at some point you're going to have to come back because you're still playing down below. And out goes an impact, a flank from the Maestro, and might try to retake through that back stairs.
Well, Giddy was in a really powerful position there. He can do a lot of work from that spot, especially as an SAS operator. You got the shotgun, you got the SMG-11, those close-range engagements that you're going to be confronted with. Well, you'll have an advantage. And he's gone, as is Bear inside of attic. And as the walls start to close in around Polar Ace, and they lose all this control, the one advantage they have is the time, because there's only 26 seconds. You can see the Jaeger on White Stairs going to get Ghost. It lines up on the angle, but does not somehow manage to secure the kill onto Sweater, opening opportunities for the plant to go down. The push into games, though, is successful, so he can actually do some work from here as he gets aggressive on Trophy in the post plant. He'll be spotted out and called out, so he probably won't be able to accomplish much there. And the post plant is mostly being played from attic, so that's the next push for this Jaeger. He'll lose some HP as he attempts to go into attic, and, well, it's pretty much hopeless, but at least he gets one kill, making his third for the round. But PogChamp will clean that one up with an unconventional plant spot and a good post-plant hold.
The air jab that had been set up earlier on by Jarvis would cover both the doorway as well as the rotate, but it could be shot. There was counterplay potential from the door, but I didn't know if the Jaeger of Inryu knew where it was positioned. All in all, not a bad attempt at a retake after the plant goes down from PogChamp. I liked some of the things that I saw from Polar Ace. Now, on a bomb site like dorms, where you have to go up one of three staircases if you're not playing in the bomb site, a Nomad is going to be an incredibly strong operator, not just in terms of making you have to choose which lane you want to take to get back into the bomb site, but is also going to work as an intel operator to a certain extent. Just simply having an air jab go off as loud as it is, it might immobilize your opponent and it might lead to a free kill, but more than anything, it's noise and information that you wouldn't necessarily think of having. It would just be, oh, somebody's pushing from back tower. That's an air jab that just went off. You don't need to have a drone in that position. You can just simply turn around and stare at it. One of the things with this Wamai ban that PogChamp is going to focus on is going to be attic, and this is going to be the struggle for Polar Ace. With Wamai taken out by PogChamp, they are aware and want to play around an attic take without one of those strong operators that is designed to play in that area. 2 drones stacked up in back tower as well leads me to believe that this is going to be another all-in on that back part of attic wall. So how will Polar Ace adjust? Will they focus more on it? Because last time they left Bear almost alone with 1 shield and a Valk cam a couple ADSs and that was it. That still seems like a lot of utility, but compared to what we see when Omai is on the board, it's not that much.
Tower control established for PogChamp, and they are also starting to drone out underneath on the Master side. That'll give them the information they need to later rotate to Master, open up the wall, and then get the crossfire between Attic and the game's wall to then execute onto the site and go for a plant. Same way that they did in the last round. On the side of Polar Ace, or Ace as I guess they want to be called, based on their tags, they still have that extended roam on the west side, on the middle floor. Nothing really too crazy changing about their setup. There's the shield inside of Attic, which is going to definitely greatly assist Bear, but it will be destroyed very quickly. As the Thatcher in play on Oregon is, while also rarity, is just by itself just going to be powerful because it means that you can destroy shields without having to clear ADSs. So the first shield will go, the second shield will be essential, and that'll probably go later. Overall, you could see how PogChamp is going to clear through this utility to execute later into the site.
It's that old, there's that old nitro cell trick that could possibly be attempted on the closet wall if they so wanted to. We saw it from TSM a couple times. Bolo was the one that was tasked with doing that, but obviously he's not in the server. So if you're tripping, you need to be very careful. And I mean, I'm sure he's seen this before as he tries to avoid the opening in the floor. Ghost is down below just to try and watch it, as there goes one of the Zofia charges to pick off a possible mute jammer, which is not present as there's no mute on the board. What a shot and entry from Sweater as he utterly annihilates Razor down inside a kitchen. The sledge blows open the wall and then immediately goes for more. Waiting, next line of sight is in Ryu. He's still down below. He'll try to stop the advance from PogChamp, but the rest of his teammates on site, they're getting collapsed upon. Down goes Bear. That was inside of Attic. It was Prod and Jarvis who'd taken up that position before, and it looks like they're doing the exact same thing this time around. The TCSG fails to land its shots on Jarvis fully, as she's been downed though, and then more damage being done, but Giddy is felled. There goes Vivid, and in Ryu down below. He's 5-1. He's going to need to get better stats than that and at least improve upon them for this round, as it's a 1v5. Not even able to get one, PogChamp gets their own flawless round, and they'll take the lead with it.
Pretty easy clean out there for PogChamp. The way they executed onto that site was the same way they executed the last time. They opened up the Master wall, they opened up the Attic wall, the crossfire established between them, collapse on the anchors, the roamers return to site, and round done. Now, luckily for Polar Ace, they'll get to go back to the bottom floor, as the top floor has not been working out for them very well. There's no distinct counterplay coming out from Polar Ace on the top floor, although I admit that they have been trying to set up utility in a way to make it easier to hold that top floor, and most notably those shields in Attic. It just hasn't been working. And so, yeah, bottom floor was wildly successful for Polar Ace. Give it another go. In fact, it wasn't just wildly successful, it was a flawless round, so. Now, I don't know that it's going to be a flawless round this time. It's probably going to be much closer. I imagine that PogChamp will have learned from their last mistakes.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
I was going to ask, if a flawless round isn't wildly successful, then what is? Is it when you destroy their computers and they have to leave the server? Is that what happens? I'm not entirely sure.
It's where you type in chat Alt F4 activates aimbot, and then they do it, and then they disconnect from the server.
You know, somebody told me that once, and I'm honestly, I didn't believe them.
Oh yeah.
Have you tried it?
I have not.
Not that we advocate for cheating. You know, I've always been more of like a Doom God mode kind of guy myself.
Yeah, that turns on the God mode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big head mode, slappers only.
You know, I can't remember which game, but there was actually a game that had big head mode in multiplayer.
I mean, I think Time Splitters had it. The old GoldenEye had it.
Yeah, I'm thinking of GoldenEye because I played it on console at my friend's house, and we would turn it on for the lulz. That was a long time ago.
Yes, of course, for the lulz.
For the lulz, Parker.
Of course. If you're not doing things for the lulz, are you even doing them at all? That's the question I ask myself quite regularly.
No, you're not. There's no.
I asked my mother that once, and she grounded me. So, you know.
There's only the lulz, Parker.
Yes, that's true. Anyway. PogChamp, 2 good rounds in a row, and unsurprisingly, for Polar Ace. Laundry supply is back open. They're going to go downstairs. They're not going to bother with that double dorms bomb site upstairs. And meeting hall is that tertiary / third bomb site. Somebody tweeted me, by the way. I said tertiary.
Yeah.
Somebody tweeted at me and they said, you know, oh, hey, please save the big words. I didn't get it. I assume it was a joke, but just in case. Primary, secondary, tertiary. First, second, and third. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's understandable. Most people, sometimes, well, not most people. Sometimes people have trouble counting to 3, and I get it. You know, but we're here to help you out in that endeavor. Now, freezer drop has been opened up, and that's going to be, well, it's going to make holding a freezer obviously much more difficult. Razor will do his darndest here as he plays by the freezer doorway, but it's going to be kind of an in and out affair. Well, he'll be hanging out inside of freezer half of the round and hanging out in the hallway half of the round and kind of diving back and forth, trying to delay the push in through freezer hall.
It's a pretty decent tempo that's being established right now with still over a minute to go and the focus not being on the bunker this time around. I was talking about how much more challenging it can be to attack this particular part of the bomb site given the way that the changes have been made, but you also have to put some of your attention towards freezer, which is where 3 members of PogChamp were looking. Ghost gets out-dueled though by Giddy. The Maestro finding target number 1 for Polar Ace, and that will be the first death in this server. About a minute to go, give or take, and the attackers have posted up over by Freezer and still hanging out at the front of Laundry, but they are all meeting their fate at the hands of this Alda as Giddy's second kill will now come from a similar position to the first 2. Trip and refrags before Vivid takes out Sweater, and any trades will effectively end this round for PogChamp as they are already so far behind. Both Jarvis and Trippin might as well be on different maps with how far apart they are. Waiting very patiently, Razor, he'll need to get pushed by Jarvis. And there goes Trippin to Bear. So, 1v4, and it's Jarvis again. As a Nomad with an ARX, you don't have a ton of bullets. Down he goes. In Ryo gets the kill onto Jarvis, whose name we are still trying to figure out how to pronounce, and Polar Ace will take their second round.
That was good, good round there for Polar. Nice hold out on the bottom floor. I do have to appreciate that PogChamp attempted... Oh, sorry, I hit my mic. They attempted to try and clear from a different position. You know, instead of going straight from blue, they're like, oh yeah, we'll do a freezer take. But I think one of the most common trends with the freezer take that I keep seeing a lot of teams repeat is that they put more presence in the freezer, and that ultimately that presence accomplishes nothing. And they put a lackluster amount of force into the main lobby take, you know, in through Laundry. And then they all get shredded in freezer, and the round is over. And it seems like that's what happened there for PogChamp. I very rarely see the freezer take, if it's a full freezer stack, actually work. And there's another example of it not working. Not saying it's impossible, I'm just saying it just seems to be uncommon. But the key to this is Polar Ace has proven in that last round that their defense success on the bottom floor, defensive success, pardon me, is not a fluke, that they can repeat it. And that gives confidence, builds confidence for future rounds on different sites. But Polar Ace is also not trying something different right now. They're going back upstairs, which has looked terrible for them. So
yeah, I'm kind of curious as to why they wouldn't go towards meeting. It's a very defendable bomb site. I mean, you just stick somebody up an attic. I wonder if the Wamai ban is going to hurt them in that regard. But I mean, I'm trying to remember every single meeting hold that we've seen with an attic play upstairs, and I don't always remember Wamai being a huge part of it. It usually boils down to a Kaid playing up there. I'm not entirely sure, but that reluctance to go to a third bomb site could possibly hurt Polar Ace in the long run. If they win it, dorms here, they're going to have to go to either meeting or they're going to have to go over to dining hall. So it doesn't really matter because they can't go back to laundry supply for the remainder of their defense, which is just one more round after this. And if they win double dorms, then obviously they can't go back there for the very next round. So,
and generally speaking, you're going to have your most successful site only played twice because of that. So like Parker said, that's not a lot, which means that really Polar Ace need to figure out something else that's working for them. And I don't know. I mean, maybe they'll manage the top floor on their third attempt. You can see they're getting a little bit more aggressive this time, and they've repositioned their players. Razor's now the one holding onto Attic, and he's got a shield still there, but it's no longer the explodey type. He's also playing there with an ACOG, where in prior rounds, it was Bear on Valkyrie trying to hold this, so that's a very different kind of setup. He wants to get an aggressive pick, it seems. Dangerous, but it could net results. I mean, you've been seeing the aggression from everybody, really, on the defensive side so far.
Giddy's earlier gamble that lost him with left him with a little bit less HP will now be back up to full with one stim pistol from Razor as he loses his shield and has no choice but to fall back as the cavalry is called in from PogChamp, or at least what is remaining of the cavalry over towards tower, because now PogChamp's focus shifts over towards master bedroom. And there you go. Exothermic charge will go down on the wall. There's no denial that you need to fret over. No C4 that's going to stop it or the thermite either. Could be so effective and so deadly for Trippin. But he is a man with one job and one focus, and he's doing an exemplary job of it so far. They'll immediately smoke off the opening for the attackers, meaning that the defenders will have some more time that they can bide as a frag grenade does damage to the dock. He swings on out, but Razors can't get the target that he needs. So that means that it needs to be aggressive for Jarvis, who's going to put the exact same air jab in the exact same spot inside of Attic. Only 30 seconds left. Nobody has died yet. And because of the dock, you saw that Giddy was able to get back to full HP. But as I say that, PogChamp with 2 kills, Polar Ace rather, with 2 of their own, Sam Jarvis slams down Razors, and now Ghost will need to get that defuse plant under his watch. As it's Jarvis, he's exposed. No coverage from Ghost at all. Inrio takes out Jarvis, and then now on the hunt, it's Ghost in a 1v1. He has to find the Jaeger or go for the plant, and he'll do just that. With 1 second left, there's no way that the Jaeger is not going to be able to stop this one. Ghost is as good as dead, and he's finished off. What a performance so far from Inrio. And Polar Ace will take their 3rd round, and at worst, they'll tie this first half.
Inrio or Inrio?
What?
In Rio or in Rio?
I was told it was in Ryu. That's what I was told.
Yeah, and I was corrected to in Rio. So now we're all just confused.
These kids and their names.
Yep.
I swear. Why can't they have easy to pronounce names like Kix?
Well,
or Blue.
Or Buelo.
Don't do this.
Pablo? Sorry, did I get it wrong?
He's Bolo.
Buelo? I'm kidding. No. But I don't know. Anyway, the round itself, let's zoom in on that for a second. Adaptation from Polar Ace. That's the key here. That's the star of the show. That hole they made in the floor was specifically made to stop the plant. And Inrio was able to do just that from below. He shot through that hole, denied the first plant attempt, and there was no cover from the attack because there couldn't cover someone holding from underneath. They would have had to have cleared him out earlier in the round. So, massive props to Polar Ace for adjusting their defensive strategy, making but one hole, and then PogChamp, who executes the same way, is now the one suffering because they've been outplayed by their own repetition and Polar Ace's ability to adapt to their opponent. And I know it's a small thing, right? That little hole in the floor. But it's a small thing that went a long way as it opened up that angle, allowing for that plant spot that PogChamp kept going for to be completely nullified. And in the dying seconds of the round, in that last few seconds where there's very little opportunity to adjust your strategy, PogChamp obviously must have realized the fault of their strategy, but there was nothing they could do at that point.
Attackers have located a bomb.
All right, well, we had speculated that there would be maybe a meeting defense, and no, that's not the case. It's actually going to be dining kitchen. So they really don't like what seems to be the most comfortable 3rd bomb site. And that's okay. I mean, there's been some variance between teams and how they want to play this particular bomb site, or this 3rd bomb site, as it is often referred to as some teams have subbed out meeting for laundry supply, but overall, not really. I mean, the original 2 default bomb sites for Oregon remain unchanged. I will say this. PogChamp are very quickly opening up this wall, which had been somewhat of an impasse, or at least worry for them, as you use an exothermic charge at the top of small tower and then open up the remainder, and now you've got a safer way in by the couches. This is very similar to where the default plant spot used to be on this bomb site before they changed it. And PogChamp's almost their entire push is going to come from small tower. We saw 4 of the 5 of their operators lined up in that spot.
I like the way they did that too. Of course, you just put it on the floor up there, and it's basically uncounterable for the defense, other than, I guess, if you're playing in small, where you have like an evil eye or something. I don't know. So that's a good execute. It's a surefire way to get the wall opened up. This is, of course, a dining defense, not a meeting defense. So this now leaves the bomb site itself very exposed. Maestro in play means that locker control is essential. So a lot of pressure on Razor's shoulders here, as he has to hold this position to deny the plant later in the round. You can see he's the perfect operator to do just that. The smoke is exactly who you want here. So that's good. Here comes the plant attempt number 1 from Trippin. No gas to deny, no guns to deny. Trippin will get it down. Okay, now post plant and small tower control, but Bear is at least going to get 2 kills, and that's what the cost of the plant is in the end. It's the 2 casualties. Ghost gets Vivid as he attempts to rotate. That's a good pick from Ghost. Inrio has been put down to low HP and finished off by his teammates. No dock stims for him, despite how many Bear still has. Sweater very exposed, and he'll be shut down by Bear, who gets his 3rd kill, his 4th kill now in the round. It's all on Jarvis. This is going to be very difficult for him. No one on the diffuser right now, but there's still time for that. Giddy gets on it right this second. Razor will down the final attacker. A 4K from Bear, and Polar Ace retake the post plant.
I was wondering if they were going to give the honor of the down Nomad to Bear just so he could have gotten the ace, but no. There's no honor among thieves, apparently, on this team. But with that said, it looked like they were going to be able to get away with the plant going down, and it looked like the coverage was fine until Bear swung, and what a flick that was onto Ghost, the Zofia, on the flank that was coming through kitchen. The Doc doing his best NJR performance, if we can call it that, and essentially winning the round, getting 4 very clean kills, 3 of which, if I remember, came in the depths of a retake / post plant. If I'm PogChamp, I'm a little frustrated. This is your map. You've already played it at least 1 time against Striker. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a cakewalk, but you didn't look like a weak team. You've now lost your first half on defense, mind you, and we're in a position where the defense tend to do well on Oregon, if I remember the stats that you were mentioning the other day.
Very, very, very well. I can look at the exact stats right now.
Please look at them.
For the U.S. division, so this is obviously a different division, Oregon, after 6 play days, or 6 times played, it has a 68% overall defensive win rate, making it the most consistently defender-sided map in the league currently. This is, of course, excusing Coastline, which has only been played once. Coastline has a 75% defensive win rate, but one play time, I guess, does not make accurate statistics. Or not, it doesn't make generalizing statistics, so you can't really use them for anything.
Attackers must locate and defuse a bomb.
So there you have it. So not cause for alarm if you're PogChamp just yet, but I think 1 or 2 rounds on attack for Polar Ace is when that those alarm bells start going off. Laundry supply room downstairs for the very first PogChamp defense. And they're not going to try to hold blue the way that we've seen a lot of teams do it. So it's a bit of innovation to a certain extent, as well, they've just reinforced the wall and they've kited it off. So okay, they're going to force Ace to try, or Polar Ace to try and take this. Also, how many aces do we have in this game now?
Well, 5 on the right, and 2 other ones that I know of. Maybe it's actually, there might be a 3rd as well, so...
There's Caster Ace, there's Operator Ace, there's getting all 5 kills Ace, there's Polar Ace, whose tag is Ace.
I thought we were just talking about players.
And then there's aces as well. See, here's what we need, Michael. We need aces from either ANZ or Europe to play for Polar Ace on the Operator Ace, and then get an ace as aces.ace, aces with ace.
That would be something.
Casted by Ace of Pyrite.
That would be That would be something special, Parker.
And amazingly, that's 5, which is the same number as in the server, which is another ace. So perfect. There you go.
Maybe we should do that at a LAN event someday when we get to LAN events again.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see about it if we ever have those ever again.
Like you set it all up.
Bear is down to the back tower, so Giddy's going to try to get him back up. He'll crawl as best as he can. And this is a tough spot to be in because Jarvis is just waiting very patiently for the vulnerability on Polar Ace. And he's called for help. Vigil of Sweater has been brought into action and misses some of those shots. Bear is now back up at 20 HP with a minute to go.
A little bit of scuffle in here. Bear's been put to low HP. I'll have to be cautious in future engagements. So far, it's looking solid for PogChamp as they managed to hold on to a decent amount of control here upstairs, and that's going to allow for flanks later in the round. Small wall's getting opened up there, but look at this potential pressure here from the drop down. I'm not sure what Vivid was thinking there as he rotated into the box. The drop's open. They haven't cleared out meeting, so yeah, obviously that's going to happen. Prod does get Bear as well, who was lit up earlier in the round. It's all on Razor and Inrio. Unlikely to be able to accomplish much in this round, but maybe they can get some exit frags. Give themselves some boosts of confidence. Here's the entry into the site. Ash all the way in, and he'll lose the fight to the Kaid. Razor gets one before getting felled, and nearly a flawless round for PogChamp on their first defense.
Poor Trip and dying so that the flawless round doesn't happen. Great effort from Sweater, by the way. He's not having the same level of game that he had last week that we saw him, or 2 weeks ago, actually, I guess. And, well...
6 years ago.
6 years ago.
Yes.
Did you say 6 years ago?
Yeah, it feels like it's all just like blending together. Time is flying so fast.
Well, I'm pretty sure Sweater's 18. So 6 years ago, Michael, he would have been 12. And also this game
still
wasn't
a gunner.
out 6 years ago.
And he was still a gunner, Parker.
A CCS champ, by the way.
Yes, indeed. He's a good player. Very good player. I mean, we've got a really strong lineup across the board in this matchup. And I've been impressed. Can I just say, I've been very thoroughly impressed by Polar Ace's performance so far through this match.
As have I.
It's good to see names that, and you mentioned it in the lead-in, we're not so familiar with Polar Ace. I know the name Giddy, and that's it. I'm familiar with the name Giddy. I don't remember where I know it from. I've known him from something before, probably a rank match or something along those lines. And apart from that, there's a lot of obscurity around the Polar Ace roster, and seeing them play the way that they're playing right now against PogChamp, some very known quantities and some very talented players, really does instill a lot of confidence in Polar Ace's future as a team, and it's good to see that. You know, it's always nice to have that kind of situation where you got these players coming out and proving themselves as they are through this, well, limited scope we've got so far just in map number 1.
I'd like to let everybody know, by the way, that we have a ruling on the field. His name is officially in Rio, as if you were in the location.
In Rio.
And you know, at one point, Michael, we were in Rio.
I've been in Rio 3 times. 3 separate occasions.
Oh!
It's a nice place.
Look at you go. All right.
I've been to Sao Paulo more, though.
Oh, almost a go-ahead kill for Sweater against in Rio. We were literally just talking about you, and look at that. Look at you go.
He is the
top performer. He gets the first pick, and that's a gamble from Sweater. With how tight of a leash Jarvis tends to keep his players on, I do wonder if that was something that was orchestrated or if he just did that on his own, because you don't want to run afoul of Samuel Jarvis, especially with as tight of a game this is, because we've talked about how crucial having an advantage is. This could be the rest of the round for Polar Ace, and they could have just given it away and forfeited it on PogChamp's side.
I have to imagine that Jarvis probably said, "Go get him, Sweater. Go get him." I've heard that before, that call. Sometimes you just want your fraggers to go crazy and get kills. And, you know, it's obviously going to put your team at a disadvantage if they don't, but there's the opportunity for a, distinct upset for the on the attacking side where they lose a vital part or a vital component, I guess, of their attack. In Rio, going to be entering in through Armory. And it is winter in Rio right now, I think, so I hope he has hand warmers. Vivid going to be making an entry over by the hallway, too.
Oh my god.
So I assume that's where the diffuser is going to be going. They're probably going to try and open up the closet wall. They've got one extra
9 kills for Inrio, by the way. 9 kills so far.
He's popping off. This is a really good bulletproof. Holy wow.
1 minute left to play right now, and the defense is looking stacked up over on Dorm's side with split pressure from the attackers heading in towards Attic, and then also down below is Razors playing and watching that opening that was created. The Castle of Prod is called up to help Trippin as they shoot away at some of the wall inside of Attic, and, well, same operator, different team, different player. It was Jarvis on the spot before, now it's Giddy on the Nomad, watching an Attic to try and hold if somebody wants to push their way towards the breach inside of Master. And a toxic canister gets thrown out from the hands of Ghost. Bear takes out Trippin. Shotgun in hand for Jarvis. He's going to hold the tight angle leading over towards Trophy. He'll get flashed, but it doesn't do anything. And he swings and looks the wrong way, thinking he's in Master, but no, it's even closer inside a Trophy at the top of Armory. Inryu picks up his second kill, and Giddy with one. It's Prod holding onto the UMP, but he can't do a single thing, outdueled by the Zofia at the top of White Stairs. And that'll be it for the round. Sweater had given his life away on a risky spawn peek earlier, and then no way that PogChamp was going to be able to claw that one back. 5-3 for Polar Ace.
No way, Jose. Great job to Ace for locking that one up. I like the way that they controlled the aggression that PogChamp put up to try and, PogChamp were trying to rebalance the round, bring it back in their favor. I was talking about it in the last match, actually, we just had, where sometimes you need to get aggressive in order to equalize. And Ace was well aware that that was an eventuality when it comes to PogChamp, because PogChamp's well aware of this rule that you need to, if it were down to the execute last seconds of the round as a defensive team, if you don't get some kind of advantageous pick, then you're unlikely to be able to take the round unless the attack makes a huge mistake. So they went for aggressive plays. They tried to get those picks. They tried to assert dominance, and it was expected and countered by Polar Ace. So massive props to Polar Ace for that adept lockdown of the aggression PogChamp brought out. Jarvis is the best example of this when he tried to push into Trophy. We all saw that one pretty clearly. Now, it's not the end of the world for PogChamp, but it's boding pretty well for Polar Ace in this round. And I don't know that, or not in this round, pardon me, in this map. You know what? I'm losing track of my brain today. But anyway, I don't know that if you can really count PogChamp out, though. As I talked about earlier, as has been talked about many times, they're a very veteran squad. The expectation here is that PogChamp are going to be capable of bouncing back from this disadvantage currently. And as much as we can continue to be impressed by Polar Ace, that expectation still must stand. We should expect PogChamp to, if not bounce back on this map, then to at least give us a map number 3.
Just a reminder for everybody, if they haven't been paying attention as to what the maps are, Villa is map number 2. That was Polar Ace's pick, and they're in a good position to go onto that map up 1-0. They only need 2 more rounds, 4 more obviously required for PogChamp. So you're in good spot here on Oregon. The tiebreaker is Coastline. That is going to be hell in a cell with the way that these two teams have been playing so far, but with the way these two teams have been playing so far, we might not even get to that point just yet.
Yeah, I mean, the Hell in the Cell has been even playing out in this round a little bit sometimes. Or not in this round. Parker, somewhere, somehow, in my brain, map was replaced with round, and I don't know why.
I'm not sure why either. Sweater, Feast or Famine style of gameplay, he's gone from round number 9. As we are going to accelerate at this point to some kind of exciting conclusion. Already trailing. It's been a bad game for Sweater so far.
Mostly Famine.
Mostly Famine for Sweater at this point. As Razor had won that altercation, and he's in a strong position to continue on. And in fact, just like we saw within Rio, there was no damage done from Sweater. So not only is he going for maybe earlier contests than he needs to, but he's not being able to shave any HP off of his opponents. At least you could have walked away saying, oh, well, I hit him a few times. Not the case here.
I'm reloading.
So tower control for Polar Ace. Attic seems to be open. They're going to have to deal with boost spot here from Prod, but I mean, that's a well-known location. You can counterplay that pretty easily. And the game's wall getting opened up, that's big. PogChamp has not tried to stop either of those walls getting opened up thus far. And with Sweater, as you said, Feast or Famine being on the famine column right now, Polar Ace is in a really, really good position. They've got all the angles, and they got enough time to execute. They got the man advantage. They have to be worried about this smoke, though. 1 gas canister used, 2 left. No damage done by that shotgun blast, as Vivid was well behind cover.
There's another shotgun that's tagged on in, but no, from down below, you look the wrong way. Poor target prioritization for Ghost. He gets bamboozled and destroyed. And down goes the mute as well. Everything's falling apart as the plant will go down in the default corner by the foosball table. Vivid will look for coverage as best as he can, and not only is he going to get it, but they're going to get the round, and a flawless one at that. It's match point for Polar Ace as they swing wildly into the bomb site. Poor Ghost, Michael.
Yeah. Just the timing was absolutely impeccable there on the peak from Vivid. Letting sing? What?
They're speaking in code, Michael.
Huh. I assume there's some kind of meaning behind that. I am not privy to that meaning. 6-3 right now for Polar Ace, and we cannot gloss over the fact that this is certainly a... I don't know, we can't call it an upset because the expectations are not refined with these teams, but you could call it an understanding upset almost. It's kind of looser. It's more of a... It's not we expected these known quantities to pit up against each other and we expected PogChamp to win. It's more like we know the names on PogChamp very well. And they're very talented. And we expect a lot out of, especially Sweater, who is not giving us the performance that he gave us, as you mentioned, 2 weeks ago when we saw him play last. But on the side of Polar Ace, not only are they winning, but they're very much surprising us with their exceptional performance, especially in Rio, who has been absolutely on point through this series. Now,
I just want to keep saying his name now.
In Rio? Yeah.
In Rio.
It's a fun name. You know, we struggled with it at the start, but you know, once you learn it, it's like, ooh, it's nice.
We didn't just struggle with it.
We completely
botched it.
Kerfuffled it.
Yeah, we fudged the names up. Let's put it that way.
We supercalifragilisticed all over that thing.
All right, well, we didn't need to go that far. Yeah, one up me.
I don't know. I'm using made up words now. It doesn't actually mean anything. It's just from a song.
Regardless, it's a fun name to say.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
I fear
even
the
though
Twitter
the
timeline.
sound of it is simply quite atrocious.
Are you done?
I'm done. That's all.
Got something in common with PogChamp.
What's that?
Yeah, you're done.
Oh, burn!
Oh, anyway.
Burn! Oh. I mean, maybe on map 2. Who knows?
I meant more in this map. As the likelihood of a 3-round swing for PogChamp is extremely unlikely right now. But, I mean, stranger things have happened. Polar Ace have been in firm control of this matchup off of the back of good, honestly good performances from everybody. The only player that hasn't really had a flashy round come to mind, I mean, I guess kind of Giddy's had some impactful kills, but never a big round. But it's Vivid who hasn't really done much outside of just drone, plant, and then maybe die on attack or hold things off as an anchor. Inrio was somebody that we'd talked about endlessly because we couldn't pronounce his name at the start, and he's going to get the very first kill onto Jarvis. So the team captain / IGL of PogChamp is going to be on the sidelines, and he'll have to do his leadership from the grave. The rest of his team now put in a tougher position, and another opening duel will go in favor of Polar Ace.
Nades are weird. That nade will miss, I think, bouncing the incorrect way off of the bomb chassis. So no more picks there for Polar Ace, at least in that moment. Though there's still a lot of potential with that meeting wall opened up. Sweater is going to get a shot onto Inrio, and that's what we've been needing from Sweater through this entire series, well, map, I guess. Bear will take down Trippin, though. That's the player by the bomb chassis. Trippin was going to be an integral part of the outcome of this round, and with him gone, Sweater has to take up the role. Land some shots there. Prod will get Razor, and there's the follow-up from Sweater. Beautiful stuff. Giddy and Vivid now, the support players in need of a stellar performance. There goes your smoke. Ghost gives a second opportunity to Giddy, who saw his opponent but reacted slowly. And suddenly, this is very winnable for Polar Ace, where once it seemed like a reverse lockout for PogChamp. There's the third from Sweater. We've been talking about him. He's needed the performance, and he's definitely giving to us now. Impact frags. But there's Vivid also getting prod. So it's the two underwhelmers who need to perform here in this 1v1. Vivid fakes out, peeks, goes for the fight, does some damage, but lower HP allows Sweater the 4K and the lockout. PogChamp will get one round.
He saved up all of his magic from those past 2 rounds of being the opening death to finally enact his revenge on the other team. And Polar Ace comes up so close. Honestly, that really could have been Polar Ace's round. I think they understand how close it came. But Laundry Supply Room will open up. It had opened up on the previous round. There was hesitation on PogChamp's side to go there. They had looked pretty good when they defended it previously. Sweater had a good round, if you recall. And every single time that Sweater has a good round and doesn't die early, PogChamp's fortunes soar. If he can avoid being an opening pick, I think that there is still opportunity for PogChamp to put this one to overtime. All jokes that I made last round aside about how they're done. With that said, that's probably a round that is still way too close for comfort. Prod did excellent work on that hatch, as Polar Ace was not able to get anybody onto that second floor. And finally, when Prod went down, it was only because he peeked out against the thermite. He was doing exactly what he needed to do, which is his sitting on top of that hatch, watching the breach that had been put in towards that kitchen door, and not moving a muscle. I mean, he did his role. And Sweater in his position inside a meeting, he got droned out. He had lots of stamina, good stability in terms of those stim pistols, and then he just engaged in all of his fights. And you know what? He lined them up and he knocked them down, despite the fact that Ace was, Polar Ace was throwing everything they could at him. With that said, that's a meeting defense in the books. We won't see it again unless overtime shows up, and even then I don't think we're going to see it. So Laundry Supply Room and then likely the double dorms if this round goes in favor of the defense. Still a big order given what we've seen, but it's not out of the question at the moment.
Bottom floor defense next for PogChamp. Now, this has been a weird sight so far, and it's had a lot of odd results. I think the last time Polar Ace attacked onto this, they really just made the mistake of not thoroughly clearing out upstairs, and that cost them massively. And it's an easy mistake to correct. They just have to be a little bit more cautious when it comes to meeting. That shouldn't take them too much time, shouldn't take too much effort. Now, of course, they're going to have to win these gunfights against PogChamp, who are well set up in the middle floor. But, I mean, at least they know what they're getting themselves into. At least they have, I'm sure, have a plan based on their last failure. They'll get the drop down and meeting opened up. Wary of Electroclaw tricking, they will use a double EMP. That wasn't necessary, but better safe than sorry. That's going to expose Jarvis and Sweater, who will now play on the drop down. Giddy does get eliminated by Sweater, who's playing near the stage and will run back into kitchen. Some damage done to Sweater, but still a one gunfight is a one gunfight and a man advantage for now PogChamp.
Sweater warming up is a scary thing for Polar Ace, and he's gone from 4 kills to 9, going from technically worst on his team at one point to top fragging, and you're going to need to see more out of him.
Yep.
Vigil, as you pointed out, a little worse for wear, but he'd walked away with the kill. That's great. It does mean, though, that Sweater will go down in a single bullet. Sam Jarvis getting attacked from above. He'll have to hit the castle barricade and try to head towards Laundry, as he could possibly make an impact on this round now that Sweater's been removed, and it's back to a 4v4 with a minute left.
Solid for both teams, but the HP advantage distinctly in Polar Ace's favor, and the hard destruction advantage. Giddy also gets Jarvis, who fails to check for a Claymore somewhere on the map, and that's really unfortunate if you're PogChamp. Still plenty of time for the execution to come into the site, and here comes the first plant attempt. Vivid gets it almost down, but Prod will shut him down with a shot from above. That's a second for Prod. He is being allowed to run amok above. Suddenly, this is PogChamp's round. Trip in with the lockout in the site, and they'll take yet another. That's a beautiful holdout, despite the control loss for the defense.
Here's some handy tips if you are Prod in the future, or if you're playing against Prod. Number 1, open hatch. Number 2, sit over top of hatch, over top of bomb site.
Oh.
Step 3, profit.
Ding, 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 ding. Profit, profit,
That's it.
profit.
2 rounds in a row that Prod has literally just sat over top of a hatch. I mean, it's a hard-fought victory up there the second time as he'd taken some action as the holding onto the UMP inside a meeting hall, as we saw, and he engaged the sledge. But still, this really does speak to the fact that Polar Ace over the last 2 rounds have not been able to get their bearings on map control. You should expect somebody up there if you see that hatch open, and you should possibly drone it out ahead of time and know how best to go about attacking it or to avoiding it. And if you're going to have to attack it, try to do so with somebody else at your side.
Attackers need to locate and
Hasn't been the
defuse
case for
bombs.
Polar Ace at all. They attacked over towards construction. It actually looked like they might, or rather over towards bunker at the very end, and it looked like they might have been able to get it. They had a drone on Ghost as he tried to soldier through the smoke that was there and head deeper into blue bunker, as that was where the Zofia was playing. But Ghost actually decided at the last second to head back into the bomb site and help the rest of his team, as I think he'd done his job of chasing off the attackers, and that 1 kill alone could have really swung the round, as things did seem to be moving in PogChamp's direction.
10 seconds remaining.
First, they got Sweater after Sweater had picked off Giddy, and then Jarvis died to a Claymore, and all of a sudden, this is still a very winnable round for Polar Ace, despite the fact that the defense only had to survive for another 10 to 15 seconds. With that said, we had speculated that this might be dorms, but it's going to be a dining hall defense.
Yeah. This is PogChamp's last chance to take this one home, to bring it to OT, and go into map number 1 feeling confident and secure. And I think that this site, while it did not great for Polar Ace when they were trying to defend it, could be worked out well enough, I guess, if held in a different way. The real problem was that this wall gets opened up, and then there's cover for the plant, and so that's it. That's the end of the story. You have to have indirect denial. That is the only way to win on this site as a defender if the small tower take is the play. Okay, that's maybe that's a little bit too much. It's not the only way. It's more like strategically the only way, utility-wise the only way. And the fact that lockers has just been lost is really bad for PogChamp. I know they just killed Giddy. That's great and all. But they've lost control of lockers, and the attack is encroaching on the site right now. They're going to get the wall open, as they have just done. There's the kill by lockers that you expect for Razor with the control he has. And now, all of a sudden, this is a very Polar Ace favored round. They'll be able to get the plant behind the cover in all likelihood. And then what really can PogChamp do? This retake will be extremely difficult.
The problem is that Razor is going to die to even the tiniest bit of damage. The good news is that the smoke was the one that got taken out. So the toxic canisters, being your greatest enemy at that particular point, are not going to be in play at all. Still, there's 3 C4s in hand for PogChamp, and even the tiniest bit of that is going to fell the Zofia. So you got to be more careful if you're Razor. You still got tons of utility to use, as there goes one of the concussions, and flashbangs also get dumped on in.
Ooh, big win there for Trippin as Inrio goes down on a long angle fight. Now with Razor on low HP, that's a lot of HP advantage for PogChamp. So it's looking a lot like overtime right now as we come close to the last 40 seconds, where the attack usually has to start springing into action, whether they like it or not. There's not a great opportunity to go for the plant right now because the long angles are being dictated by the defense, despite their disadvantage in optics. And, well, that should speak to the proficiency of PogChamp. Actually, strangely, Vivid's running a holo for this kind of a long-range fight. That's kind of strange, but hey, to each their own.
He did that before, actually. It's what allowed him to get the kill onto Prod through the hatch, given how close range it was. But down goes Razor. There was only so much left. Bear with 1 onto Prod. You're going to need more out of Ace, as there's 15 seconds left. A frag grenade gets tossed down just for some area denial, and it's a time to strike towards the bomb site. Sweater comes in, and he makes his presence known as overtime is on the board. It was 3 kills for Jarvis. Out of all the players in the world, it's Jarvis, unshaken, unmoved, unconcerned. We'll need OT to settle this between the 2 teams.
It's going all the way, Parker. PogChamp will be defense first on OT, so they'll pick their spot. Now, it looks like it's laundry. So that last round, a couple things went awry there for Polar Ace. One thing went right. they managed to get Locker's control, and that should have actually netted them the round because it afforded them control over the site, cafeteria. Unfortunately for Polar Ace, they couldn't win long-range engagements from small tower to kitchen. In fact, they lost those engagements. Now, because they were losing those fights, they weren't able to effectively repress the defense inside of kitchen, and no plant opportunities presented themselves. So what does Polar Ace do? Well, they try to maneuver through the hallway and get some kills on a different angle, but ultimately, you're looking at a very constricted bottleneck between that double door and the kitchen door and the kitchen wall and all that. That's just one line that you have to cross as an attacker, and PogChamp were ready to hold that line. More importantly, Polar Ace had lost bodies on the other side of that line earlier in the round on the east side of the building. So those losses, coupled with the inability to get picks on those long-range fights for Polar Ace, resulted in a completely stagnant attack, a completely stopped attack. All PogChamp needed to do was continue to oppress the attackers on those long-range fights. And that's so strange to see. Usually that goes the opposite direction, but props to PogChamp for upsetting the norm.
What do you think the big thing for Polar Ace has been as they've cooled off? Do you think it was just that they were able to play really aggro and unrestricted on defense? Because they definitely did thrive on that defensive half. Or do you think it's just the map, as both teams went 4-2 on D?
It could be that. I mean, definitely the map is a factor. I also think, based on what I've been seeing, I'm noticing PogChamp are a little bit more confident in their gunfights. And it looked like they were kind of they were playing suppressed at the beginning of this map. I was a little bit worried for them because they weren't playing as you would expect them to. But since they started to really lock this stuff up, they're looking a lot more confident. Like I said, they're looking a lot more sure of themselves. They're taking a lot of those fights. And very importantly, Sweater has woken up.
Because the boy's a sleeper, but he's awake now. And I mean, that one round really pops to mind that he took over, and on Vigil, he's going to be in excellent position, and he somehow wins a gunfight against Razor that, frankly, I don't think he had any business winning. The Zofia should have been able to take that one. I don't know if Sweater is aware that he's got the confirmed down, but because it's Zofia and because of her unique withstand ability, she's able to get herself right back up. This is information that might not be in Sweater's hands, and that can be particularly troubling.
This continued presence upstairs is also trembling for Polar Ace. This is a bottom floor defense, and the Roman meeting somehow has persisted for 2/3 of the round. You've even got Prod to assist Jarvis over inside of Kitchen, and as long as these players stay upstairs, there's no way that Polar can make an execution to the site. Why? Because the drop-down's open. And if they ever make that execution, they'll be flanked from these players above. It looks like they're going to try anyway, which I get very dangerous, but who knows? Maybe it'll work out. I doubt it, but worth a shot, I guess, if you're not willing to put the time in to clear upstairs.
45 seconds left for this execute to go off, and everybody is still alive after that skirmish that Razor and Sweater had earlier on netted no actual kills. Giddy will start us off at the back of pillars as he'll choke on some smoke after he's taken Trippin out of action. Vivid going for the plant, and he's very nearly done with Giddy. Excellent coverage still on pillars. He looked towards Freezer, but nobody provoked a fight. Jarvis drops, and the attackers have a huge advantage here right now. Prod and Sweater in a 2v4 with the timer ticking away. This is troubling if you're PogChamp, and it gets even worse as Inryu is there. Takes out Sweater, takes out Prod, takes the round. Polar Ace on match point.
Excellent hold there on the top floor. That's the key to that round. Despite PogChamp still having presence upstairs, they weren't able to effectively influence the round because they were still Polar Ace attackers to hold those angles on the push above. Also very important, that small wall in the site getting opened up. That plays a huge part of how much control the attack has on the plant spot. So the fact that they're A, controlling above despite having not cleared it out, B, have opened up those extensive angles, and are C, using the angles to their advantage, and by there I mean at Polar Ace's advantage, makes all the difference, because that's a very distinct difference from what we were seeing on that cafeteria or dining attack or whatever you want to call it, where Polar Ace opens the wall and then they can't somehow take the long-range fight. In that round, they open the wall, they've got control above, they also use the angles they've opened to their advantage, and they get a plant down. Post-plant is pretty easy holdout, especially considering the long angle opened up from blue.
Giddy playing off of pillars as well. He was able to watch the opening that was created on that one panel back towards where Bear is playing, which is the rotate into laundry. He can also watch Freezer, and there's a good reason why the defenders hang on to pillar as often as they do, because if you open up some of that wall by blue and there's none of the defenders playing the hatch above, which Jarvis was, but he got downed, if there's nobody watching that hatch above, you don't really have to worry about too much playing on pillar, with the exception of somebody pushing the back tower stairs. It's quite possible that an air jab had been put out there as well. I don't know if you heard it. I didn't hear exactly where all 3 of the air jabs went from Giddy, but if there's one on back tower, then he doesn't need to worry about that angle. He just needs to watch towards Freezer, that hallway, and then also into the bomb site. So a very powerful place for him to play off of, and obviously it was too much for PogChamp on that round. So it's another laundry supply room defense, but as with overtime, this time around it's going to be Polar Ace on D, and how much are they going to change up on what has been a very defender-sided Oregon? Working well for them as they were able to take the first round of overtime on attack. That's exactly what you want to see if you're a fan of theirs.
I'm sure they're making a lot of fans here today. I mean, with a performance like this, you've got to expect it. I've been thoroughly impressed. You talked about it. You've been thoroughly impressed with, I think everyone really has, with Polar Ace's performance. And I just, like I said, I love that storyline. I absolutely adore this type of thing. It's not done yet, of course, but it's boding well for Polar Ace. As you said, they are on the advantageous side. So, drop down open, meeting hall control established. What's that?
I think that was Jackie, actually.
Oh,
showing us that her mic isn't muted, which is good.
I thought you were saying something, and I was like,
oh no,
sorry. Blue take coming out here from PogChamp, and they are going to get the shield. So with that shield done, they'll be able to apply some pressure to the site. But we've seen this before, and it's actually worked for Polar Ace. Again, the peeling from Polar Ace has been really good. They've managed to get away from these like really dangerous positions and still be alive. Obviously, in Rio is going to take some damage, but at least he'll still be able to affect change with his gun still up.
It's a late deployable that's being set up over by that laundry rotate, as we can see 3 members of Polar Ace all moved back. It's the Mozzie, it's the Maestro, and it's the Smoke. So they're going to just play it out and wait, as the push that will come in will now need to contend with all of this essential artillery fire that's going to be lobbed long range. In this case, there's still 3 toxic canisters, make that 2, as 1 from Vivid goes out, but Sweater gets the punishing blow onto Bear in the opening pick, as well as in Rio is waiting inside of Freezer. Does anybody have sights on him? That's the real question. Razor doing damage to Sweater and then finishes him off with Ghost trading out onto Giddy. Inrio is still positioned in that same spot. Trippin managing to avoid the smoke. That must be a point of frustration for Vivid, as the diffuser will go down quite successfully. The Thermite, not even worse for Ware. He's still at full HP and he'll make out like gangbusters. A second for Razor as the Mozzie is doing the work that he needs to do. Trippin and Ghost with 2 apiece, and Vivid with 1 HP against 3 members of PogChamp. In a post-plant, it seems almost certain that we are going to go to round number 15, as it's almost impossible for the Smoke to be able to pull this one off. A single bullet will be his undoing. He'll be exposed, but just for a second, playing around the pillar, and there it is. The final blow from Prod, as it's a large team effort. Nobody overshadowing the other on PogChamp. 7-7 will go to the final round.
So that round played out very similarly to the last. There are some major differences, of course. The top floor clear was much quicker. There was no really extensive roam upstairs from Polar Ace. The small wall, though, getting opened up, that was a really big factor. Again, those long angle plays from the attackers, huge. There were a lot of unnecessarily aggressive plays from Polar Ace for some reason. A lot of plays that caught their opponents off guard and... Well, no, sorry, didn't catch their opponent's off guard. Sorry, I was distracted. There were a lot of unnecessarily aggressive plays from Polar Ace. They got picked off because there's angles being held on from long distances from PogChamp. It's a pretty easy thing for them. They just like, oh, okay, someone stepped into my crosshair. I will take that pick. Thank you very much. Not only that, but the utility usage from Polar Ace was less than good. It was bad. The denial on the diffuser plant was pretty abysmal. The gas canisters from Vid were really, really bad. And I don't know that I saw any C4s actually go out. Maybe that's why there were so many overextensions. No, I saw one and it did miss. It went into box. But maybe that's why there were so many overextensions for Polar Ace. They were trying to throw C4 and they just died in that endeavor. But whatever it was, just so many players died for free.
Those smokes from Vivid were really something else. And honestly, I gotta say, I understand that the smoke propagation system in this game has been talked about being reworked for ages because there are significant inconsistencies with the visual side and the actual smoke side of Smoke's toxic canisters. But it really did look like it was basically on top of the thermite, and yet Trippin was taking no damage, and that must have been, number one, a relief for Trippin, and number two, Vivid was probably assured that he'd landed the smoke on target. Well, that's not to be the case.
Must have been frustrating. I think that maybe the gas canisters went high or something.
Maybe it clipped on the bomb chassis or something like that, and it just went off the wrong way. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm no smokeologist, you know, so I'm not.
Neither am I.
Yeah. So, it's, unfortunately, it's not a position that we are in to act as experts as to how propagation of said smoke works. But with that said, no matter what happens here, we have map number 2, and these teams are very committed to not seal the deal.
Yep.
Polar Ace are defending, or Polar Ace rather, are attacking over towards the top of tower, and there had been an Evil Eye cam, the T3 that was set up by Prod that sounded like it had already been taken out. With a sledge on the board, you'd hope that you used his hammer instead of whatever gadgetry was present.
They want to
sure
go
looks that way.
Forever, Parker. Can we get infinite OT? Can we retroactively implement that on this map?
I would like to vote against that.
We'd be here for the rest of the night. Or so it would seem based on what we've been having both these teams play like. So, in this round, half of the round already used up. Attic push here. As well as a master push. So it's the standard split here from the attack of Polar Ace. Now, they earned an opportunity to lock this. Oh, no, that's terrible for Polar Ace. Sweater, a big kill there as he downs the Zofia, who was trying to get anything that could have been opening or stopping the opening of that wall from below. It would have been the Mute Jammers in this case. So Sweater not only gets that kill, but significantly slows down the clear underneath.
It's a big opening pick, and it'll add to it. With this time the smokes landing their shots, that'll teach Vivid a thing or two about exactly where to land them as Ghost takes him out. Playing around the same area, Ghost is still waiting, ever so patiently. 2 kills from Polar Ace as this is far from done, and PogChamp's advantage has completely evaporated. As Inrio, as well as Giddy, are in and on the scoreboard for this round. Giddy up on Rappel, heading over towards the master side, while he has another teammate of Bear playing inside of Attic. That just leaves Inrio as the difference maker, and he's over towards Trophy. He'll sprint on in. Down goes Bear to Prod, just guns him away, pings in, and there will be a Nitro Cell that sails out, blows up Giddy. Inrio has the diffuser, but he's not going to be able to outduel Prod. The Maestro inside of Dorms will finish it off. Sweater obviously very happy about that one, but regardless, a huge comeback from PogChamp, and they'll take it 8-7.
What a big round there from PogChamp. OT really favoring them. Solid performance there, despite the advantage that was acquired early by Polar Ace. But let's talk about that with Jackie in the conversation and trying to like flesh out what we just saw.
Oh my goodness. Gentlemen, a 15-rounder map on Oregon 8-7. PogChamp. What a comeback there. I'm so sorry. I know I distracted you all a little bit. I'd unmute myself. I thought that it was over, and then nope, it went back. back and forth, back and forth. But that was super fun to watch. There were so many rounds that stuck out to me. I did want to ask both of you, what was your favorite play? I know for me, I loved round 6. Bears 4K on defense post plant, but I mean there were a lot of really Kix is thinking, he's got his thinking face on. What were some plays that stuck out to both of you? Kix, you pick yours out?
Not in particular, no. I thought that
none in particular.
No, I thought
okay.
It was a pretty good play, or pretty good plays from all the players involved. I think one thing that I have to say, if I have to point a finger at like players and the potential to perform, is actually Polar Ace. I know they lost that, but it didn't seem to be on the backs of any one particular player. Obviously, in Rio was big for in the early stages of the match, and he carried that forward. But you saw an across-the-board performance from Polar Ace, and I'm just impressed by that.
Okay. And Tara, what about you? I mean, this was a fun match to watch, in my opinion. I thought both teams played exceptionally.
I think they played exceptionally sloppy on a lot of these rounds. I will say that it was beautiful in how chaotic and unorganized / disorganized it was. Bears 4K was absolutely huge. I have to say that probably been the scene stealer for me. Sweater's 4K as well obviously jumps to mind. There's that one round where Jarvis basically didn't move from the same 3 feet of the map and got 3 kills as Valkyrie. So that one can also pop into my head. But honestly, if I'm going to give any commendations here, it's going to go to Polar Ace. I said at the onset, I'm not super well versed in these players. I haven't seen them around before, and there was quite a challenge to dig up information on them. But what I will say is that over the course of this matchup, it was made known to me that these are players apparently from Xbox, a never-ending stream of Xbox players making the transition over to PC, and in Rio in particular. Sorry for botching your name as often as we did, but I gotta say, he stacked up well against some really good veteran players, and I think he impressed, regardless of whether or not they were flashy plays that end up, getting shown at the end of the match.
Yeah, both of you were touting their performance, and Polar Ace showing a lot of potential. Were there any setups or strats that stuck out to either of you about Polar Ace? Like anything that really resonated with you about that team?
They were playing rather basically when it comes to the defense. They didn't have as much of an extension as like PogChamp had, for example, which to me screams like they're trying to refine the basics before they start stretching out, which is actually smart. And I don't think they did anything really too crazy. There were a couple moments where I felt like they fell really flat, like especially that attack into cafeteria or dining. They could have easily done better in that round with the locker control that they had and just taking fights and winning them over on the long angles. So that's like one thing that stood out to me in the negative column. But apart from that, most of the attacks and defenses from Polar Ace were about as basic as they come. And that's not in a bad way. I think, again, if anything, I respect them for trying to refine that before they start branching out.
What about you, Antero? Anything to add there?
I mean, it seems like a team that plays really loose and really frag heavy, and there wasn't a ton of innovation, and there wasn't a lot of deep strats that we saw. It was, I look back at the Canada division match we had earlier today, where it was like we saw similar things. Nordic looked really composed. Livid just kind of looked like there were some rounds where they were just winging it. I don't know if I would say that, Polar Ace were winging it, but what I will say is that it's clear that their structure still has a ways to go. The good news is that as they develop those strats and start to work on them, they've already got the gun skill down pat. It was a very even match until the very end, wherein Rio took off, but the rest of the team were finding the scoreboard just fine, and that bodes well for the future of the team.
All right, well, Pog or Polar, which team will take map 2? We got a lot of action ahead of us. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
All right, welcome back, everybody. And we've got map number 2 on the docket. None other than Villa. We saw this map in the Canada division just a couple hours ago, and we've got PogChamp and Polar Ace competing for all the glory as PogChamp is up 1-0. They barely squeezed out a victory on their own map. Michael, how does Villa look different than what we saw in Oregon?
Well, as I'm sure many of you know, Villa and Oregon tend to fall into very different columns. Oregon is seen as a much more chaotic map, a little bit more freedom of movement, a little less rigid. Villa is more strategic, typically, and a little bit more, of that rigid, lockstep kind of strategy play. And it's going to favor teams differently based on their proficiencies. I know Oregon is a more defender-sided map, and typically that says more strategic, but it's just in this case because it's so new. I am really looking forward to Villa being played out here. I've talked about it a lot, and I talked about it in the previous series. One of the things that makes a team excel at Villa is their vertical play. So I think the wealth of knowledge that PogChamp has should buy into that and should give them an advantage.
For a team that's been around as long as PogChamp has and is playing at the level that they are, their coordination and that sophistication that we talk about a lot in setups should be decently high. Now, that's not to say that PogChamp hasn't made some roster moves as of late. Chala used to be on this squad way back in the day. Yardy/Drip was on it too, and they've had to make some substitutions. So they're not exactly fighting at the same level they were at before, but they've been around long enough that they know roughly what they're going to do. And I mean, that was evident on Oregon. They had some pretty solid setup. I'm sorry, I think you can hear the thunder, by the way. I don't know if you heard that, but there's a massive thunderstorm rolling through Toronto right now.
Sounds cool.
So I apologize if I lose power, by the way, everybody that's watching. But that means you just get more Kickstarter. But you saw it from the Oregon setup that it was very clear that in terms of the actual site setup as well, there were more variants on the side of PogChamp. Now, that doesn't make it better. It just means that it's structured differently. Villa tends to be more of a structured map, so that should play to PogChamp's advantage. But Polar Ace picked this map, and they likely did so for a reason.
So, we have a lot of question marks going into this, basically. We can make a lot of assumptions based on our prior experience and our understanding of how these teams should play out. But it's really ultimately up in the air. I'd say that one thing to put in the favor column for Polar Ace is how close they brought that last map. And given that was PogChamp's map, Oregon, that bodes very well for them. And the likelihood of a map 3 is still pretty significant, so keep that in mind. I believe map 3 will be coastline, if I remember correctly, so
That's correct.
we'll see if we get there. That's, I guess, really on PogChamp. It's their match to lose at this point. For those of you who are wondering what's going on and why we are continuing to ramble on, we're waiting for one player to get back into the lobby. Once we have that done, we will start the action right up. You see that conversation a lot. It's like, what? Start the game. And it's like, hey, man, we want to start
Michael,
the game too.
Everybody knows that the casters determine when the match starts, and there are some times where we just don't like you and we want you to wait.
Exactly.
I'm talking to you right now. Yes, you, person in chat who says, start the game. You know why we're not starting the game? Just because you asked us to. That's why. That's the only reason. I'm going to spill the secrets. We're not starting until we want to. And it just so happens that we want to right now, by the way. So we're going to get started and get things underway with map number 2. It could be our final map of the night between Polar Ace and PogChamp. Once again, this is for US Challenger League Group A. The loser finishes third. The winner finishes at least second in their group, and we're going to load into the map and see exactly what happens. PogChamp should be starting on defense with Polar Ace on attack.
So here we go. Ban phase starts up. We'll see who gets eliminated, as I'm sure most of you have heard plenty of times by now. Echo is still soft banned, so he will not be a necessary ban here, and that's going to change things up for both teams, as I'm sure you can expect. It's not necessarily going to lock anything in, but it does, I think, open up the possibilities. Thatcher, the first ban, and that is a common ban on this map. He, as an operator, is not only a proficient operator in general, but also especially on Villa, where you can do a whole heck of a lot of things that will just like... Well, there's EMP spots that can get a wealth of utility. Like, we're talking 2 Kaid Electro Claws and 2 ADSs, if placed correctly, depending, on, of course, on how the enemy sets up. And, you'll have to set up accordingly. But anyway, the point is, get rid of it, and then you don't have to think about it, and that's convenient.
Maverick gone as well, meaning that for attacking these bomb sites, we are going to see a lot of vertical play, as you had discussed, and then we are going to see probably Thermite, I would guess, because you can get his exothermic charge off on the floors and not have to worry too much about Hibana. It also means that Kali might show up, because on a map like Villa, when we see a Maverick Thatcher ban, Kali does end up showing her face. The defender bans are Mira and Valkyrie. Valkyrie obviously being very pivotal on many, many maps. Villa is no exception. And then, of course, Mira is just a common ban basically everywhere, as the strength that she gives from those black mirrors is unrivaled. There's no other operator that can substitute in for her, really, other than maybe Maestro, and he's just a poor man's Mira.
Parker, do you like candy corn?
I can't eat it, Michael.
Yeah, but do you like it, though?
Yes,
Wait,
why?
You do? Oh.
Yeah, they look like little traffic cones.
Yeah. That's one of my favorites from way back in the day.
Attackers need to locate
Random.
and defuse as many bombs as they can.
Hey, thank you for asking me.
Yeah, no problem. They don't have
All right,
they don't have diabetic candy corn?
They don't really have diabetic candy, Michael.
No, I'm sure they do. I mean, it would just have less sugar, right? Like way less, like almost none.
Yeah, they're called vegetables.
I don't know if that's like a... I like vegetables. I don't like vegetables that are cooked, though. I can only eat raw
Are you
vegetables.
hungry?
You know, I am actually kind of hungry, Parker. Thanks for asking.
What is going on?
I could really use some... You know what's really good right now? A shepherd's pie. I could go for a shepherd's pie.
That's a lot of carbs. Anyway, here's a spawn peek from Trippin with the AUG of Kaid. This is a long-range spawn peek, and... Gonna see somebody?
Oh! Ah, he missed. That was so close. Imagine if he had that pistol with the ACOG on it.
I mean, maybe he does, for all we know.
Well, he probably would have used it, wouldn't he? Well, there you go. All right, the aggression elsewhere from Sweater. Oh my gosh, did he really run out the front door?
He sure did.
Oh boy, that's that's just one of those wisey there moments.
Well, you can ask why is he there all you'd like, but he is, and Sweater trades 80 HP for Razor and gets the very opening pick of map number 2. And with it, you hope that PogChamp can hold on to the rest of the round. They are defending over on the Aviator side. They don't have presence on Astronomy, as that's how you can see that Rio has just managed to walk right in and take control of the back of that Trophy statuary split. And he'll drone in through Trophy, wait to see if the Wamai of Prod is going to give fight. He does indeed, but he doesn't want to hold on to 90, so just like that, after a minute, PogChamp have completely vacated 90 as well. Given their setup, it looks like they're going to hold out hope over by the Study and Aviator side of this map.
Good push coming in here from the landing. You can do a lot of work from here. As the ADS has been cleared out, they're going to start probing into the site, getting rid of the utility, starting to gain some control. I like to see these north side takes. I think that these afford a lot of opportunities to the attack that are otherwise wasted because if you commit to a study take. And I appreciate that from Polar Ace. It's not a guaranteed win or anything, but they've got some good angles they can play. They aren't going to be able to get the walls open like they want to, and that's a big part of why they're going for a north take instead of a study take. Nothing really coming of it yet.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's slow. It's slow right now. We're slow and we're waiting, and I mean, we have a great visual of what's happening. There's going to need to be the sound of that starting gun, but unfortunately for Polar Ace, they're going to have to walk through Hellfire to get there. Sweater is still existing, but he's over towards main stairs now, and he's going to be battling against this Hibana. I had speculated that we might see a Thermite now, but no, it was a different Heart Breacher that's being brought out. Down below, walking up towards the main stairs. Oh no! Sweater gets pounced upon, and Prod is next for the L85. Bear is moments away from being able to get that diffuser down, and will do so successfully as Polar Ace just dominate the kill feed. Good God! The round is over. Polar Ace up 1-0 despite losing Razor early. They still managed to come back in a 4v5.
I gotta say, Parker, I'm honestly a little perplexed as to how Polar Ace managed to take that round. The setup was so in favor of PogChamp. Yeah, I mean, they had good grasp on Aviator. They had the roam over by main stairs, and I realized that roam got eliminated, Sweater. But still, they should have had enough control of Aviator to deny a plant and to hold that out. It seems, and we didn't get to see it, but it's very likely that the plant was going down, and PogChamp was just unaware. Whether that be due to good cover from Polar Ace, or if it was down to the players closest getting eliminated, or maybe, you know, sound coverage, whatever the case may be. PogChamp were not ready for it. They were not prepared for the plant. They let it go down. They didn't try to deny, and they lost the round off of it. You can see that PogChamp are frustrated with that result. And the reason why you can tell that is because we're going back to the same site. Usually that indicates, okay, we know what we did wrong, we can improve on it, and that, you know, is telling of at least slight frustration. So, attempt number 2 from PogChamp. Hopefully this time they can hold out on that plan.
I wonder if Sweater got flashed at the top of the stairs. I didn't see, but I mean, he must have, right? Because you literally had the sledge just marching up the stairs, uncontested. I have to imagine that Sweater was flashed. It sounded like it, but I mean, there was a lot of chaos unfolding, and couldn't really tell. Speaking of, he's going to spawn peek. Sweater looking out the study door for somebody, anybody. Hello?
Sweater does not care, man. He wears sweaters year-round. Doesn't matter how hot it gets. And he'll spawn peek when he wants to spawn peek. Do you suppose that Bear is a bear? Or that In Rio is In Rio? Does Razor use a Razor mouse?
What's happened to you?
No,
he's not a literal bear playing this video game.
Have we heard
Just imagine a grizzly
before?
bear sitting there with a headset on, just shredding.
Is Ghost a ghost?
Okay. I'm gonna need you to stop this.
Sorry, Parker.
I'm gonna need you to knock it off. I know that you're hungry, but you're starting to sink into deliriousness. I'm gonna need you to...
Delirium.
There you go.
Yes, I will knock it off. Sorry, I got it off my chest.
Oh. Razor's has the glitch.
Uh-oh. Wait, what glitch?
Razor has the glitch. There's a repel glitch on Villa where you try to repel, and it just immediately puts you right back on the ground.
Oh.
It looks like he actually fixed it, though?
Maybe he repelled from somewhere else?
Yeah, it could be. It looked like he had the glitch. I've had it happen to me before, where you try to repel and it literally, you take one step and then you just go right back down onto the ground. I don't know if you swamp. I don't know how he got out of it, but you could tell that he was having some struggles. But he fixed it, so hooray!
That's a fun one.
That's a fun one.
Yo, did you see that? Did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it didn't. It just didn't. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I saw that. Oh, well, I mean, it happened to me.
There goes an air jab and a whole bunch of flashes as the magnets get cleared out of classical halls. 90 control is once again Polar Aces to hold on to, and they had briskly taken this in the previous round, and they will stay there yet again and just watch from the same spot. This is the same lineup and the same introduction to pain for PogChamp that Polar Ace was able to put on in the previous round. Sweater's waiting for Vivid to try and engage as best as he can. The question that I want to know is, will somebody from Polar Ace decide to head up those same stairs that Sweater had left himself exposed to on? He's obviously not looking to make that mistake a second time, as he's waiting and watching as there go the flashes above him, and that'll be Vivid looking to push in. A third flash will go out, but none will hit. A gunfight between Sweater and Vivid will do quite a bit of damage to both gentlemen, but nobody ends up losing their life except for In Rio. and then the sledge will push on up. And it's an exact replay, but no Wamai taken down this time. Giddy is felled by Prod. Diffuser was going down, but Bear has to fall off as Vivid holds inside of Study. Prod doesn't know yet, as the Hibana is prone on the ground. Razor picks up the Diffuser and will have to go for a plant, as it is currently a 3v2. Razor could get pushed from inside of that vault. He manages to get it off, but they both get taken down in 1 second. It's a complete closeout of the round for PogChamp. Jarvis will grab the Diffuser. 1-1 for both teams.
So obviously PogChamp was more aware of the plant attempt this time around, and that made all the difference. They were able to stop it and then clean up on the second plant. So well done to PogChamp for adjusting, and the frustration must be alleviated after a result like that. A very decisive win there, and they even managed to do better by the top of main stairs. So impressive all around. No, I'm not going to do it.
Do it.
Do you think I kick stars? Are you as incongruous as an exclamation mark and a question mark in one character? Does he trip all the time?
Blink twice if you need help. Being held captive right now.
I don't know why. I was just thinking it. Just
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
It's just one of those days for you.
Just one of those days.
Just one of
Parker.
those days. Well, Trophy Statuary is next in line for the third site here on map number 2. And so far, both these teams have been relatively even. The pacing has been quite strange through the last 10 to 20 seconds of a round because it has really been anybody's match. It's broken even for Polar Ace and PogChamp, 1 apiece on really the same push both times. Surrendering control of Study in the top of main stairs, then leading to Classical Hall. PogChamp did that both times. They gave up 90 early both times. They held over towards Study as long as they could until they eventually lost a duel on the main stairs both times. The key difference was that despite not having a disadvantage in numbers, Polar Ace were not able to do really anything when they got into the bomb site. And I think it's because they didn't ever have to figure out the positions of where the defenders of PogChamp were. So when they rush in the second time, they need to take straight up gunfights, and PogChamp overwhelms them, toss out a couple smokes, if dodges C4, things go well.
What is that shield setup? Yeah, they're second guessing it.
Bomb located by
I'm not sure what the initial plan was behind that, but Ghost will move one over to Astro. So Prod will be able to continue to play by his position, I guess. I assume his attempt is going to be to try and deny the Electrocause from getting destroyed. You can see they're placed very high. So, blah, blah, blah. Frag grenades that get thrown in here are either going to get caught by the Y, caught by the ADS, or might just be far enough away from the Electrocause that are placed high on the wall to not destroy them. So that's the goal. They want to keep those Electrocause up.
That'll be your assumption here. And you have those shields there, you know, a nice little slalom. We've seen it with Goyo before, where you just put your shields in very obvious positions. They have to work around it, and you set your sight up so that you can just shoot them through the wall. This was something that SSG did in this region quite noticeably. They'd just sit and wait, and then as they fell back, they'd shoot the Goyo shield. We still see that to a certain extent, or we used to rather, when he had 3 shields all the way back on Theme Park, and then you saw it to a certain extent as well on Oregon when he gets brought in. The biggest example of that is Blue/Bunker down below. Ooh. In this case, you talked earlier about how vertical play is so crucial for this map. Well, Inrio knows exactly that as he's down below, and he'll try to find a way to get rid of those Electroclaws, and there we go, finally gone, allowing the X-Kairos onto the wall.
Good work there from Inrio and Razor to get that wall open up. Vivid will be the one to do it, of course, on Hibana. No real progress after that, though, and we are getting low on time. That's worth keeping in mind. Polar Ace are, yes, in a decent position, but they don't actually have all the control that they are bargaining for right now, and that is not an enterable hole. It's just going to cut off the rotation by Connector. Still presence inside of the statuary here for PogChamp, so they don't need to sweat yet. Trippin also gets Vivid, the Heart Destructor, eliminated, but he's done his job at least. Jarvis will enter into Bathroom, taking down Giddy on the way. There goes Sam Jarvis, though, as he gets a little too aggressive, trying to push his way into Bathroom. Still Still, though, the attacker is being rebuffed before Inrio is able to get all the way into Astro. Razor's there to support him, but now it's just Inrio and Bear in a 2v2. Prod goes down, but so does Bear. And then 1v1, Sweater's just better. PogChamp will take the round.
Sweater is better, and he does a jig on the corpse of Inrio. He was ready for it. Nothing in the chat, though.
Well, the jiggle's enough.
No words need to be paid. Yeah, he does dancing, and that was it.
Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
Now, the end of that round was a mess, Michael. An absolute damn mess. The way that we saw Polar Ace take Astronomy. They struggled to get that master wall opened. You mentioned that. They spent the first half of the round just trying to set up down below and push back the roamers from PogChamp as you very slowly took control of bathroom, of down below, underneath the bomb site, which is the hallway, and then you also have to play inside of Master, and you spend about a good minute or so just doing the discovery work on drone. After that, you open up the wall as Inrio shakes off the Electric Claws. You've got a fair passage in, but as you pointed out, it's too small and it's very easy for somebody inside of Trophy to watch that angle. Or you can just smoke it off, which is exactly what Ghost did, as he tossed out those toxic canisters, and you're not going to try to go through there. You're going to take probably about 40 to 45 damage at that point before you're even able to make it in, and then you've got to go for the pretty common default plant spot, which is very easily nitroable, or you can just throw a toxic canister out. Doesn't really matter. Anyway. After that, it just came down to a slugfest. They realized, as you pointed out, we were really low on time. There's like 20 seconds left. Everybody just goes for gunfights. Gunfights happen inside a bathroom. They move to Astro. They then move into Trophy. They start to happen inside of Statuary, and then the last one that happens is right by the doorway leading into Statuary. And like I said, it was just an utter mess, and it didn't look strategic or coordinated at all. But honestly, there's beauty in how raw a fight that was. And of course, that type of environment very much suits a player like Sweater, who thrives in the chaos and has some of the best aim in this lobby at the moment. And it came down to a battle between him and Inrio, and obviously Sweater won. So that round is in the bag, and will we see something similar in the way that the defense structures themselves, given that the defense now will go down to Kitchen, which plays out similarly, though not entirely the same, as Astro or as a Trophy Statuary?
Speaking of Sweater winning, he's been doing just that through the majority of this map. If you take a look at the scoreboard, I mean, it's a pretty one-sided affair. Giddy's the only one coming close, and Inrio hasn't really had the same performance that he had in map 1. So that means, to me, Polar Ace still has some gas left in the tank, and they've got an opportunity to, you know, really put the foot down and hop back into this match. But right now, it's looking really confident for PogChamp. And based on not the outcome necessarily, because it's only 2-1, but the way these rounds have been playing, I would give the edge to PogChamp right now. Now, as I say that, Sweater's going to die inside of Statuary. So well done to Giddy, who brings himself in line with Sweater for the overall score. There is a little bit of damage dealt to Razor, though, from below, on that long angle that was pre-established by PogChamp. So a fight back, but not the same, as there's still 5 members still alive on Polar Ace.
Damage done is obviously damage done, but 1 HP, as long as you're still holding on to a weapon, you're able to just clean up. And we've seen clutches from people who've been on 10 HP before. It does happen. And a player like Razor is good enough to make his contribution on that scoreboard, regardless of where he's at. A minute left and shotguns are pointed out as there you go. A failure to take out Razor allows him to punish Jarvis, and gone is the Goyo. So Polar Ace now with Vivid getting dropped from a swing out of Trip and over towards Laundry. He'll immediately look at the hatch that's been opened up as there's a sledge up there. Lots of damage being done to Giddy, but then there's Giddy to finish it off as it was a joint effort between him and Inrio. You might not be expecting this, but there's a shotgun to the chest of Ghost. Down goes Inrio, and PogChamp have the control of the bomb site that they so desperately need. Watching where the diffuser is inside of Laundry, they'll be now on the shoulders of Polar Ace to go get it. Sprinting right on in as Prod, he needs to come back into the bomb site to help his teammates. Giddy and Razor are a stone's throw away from death as they are knocking on the door. On Bulletproof Cam is Bear. He's the only one at full HP. 1 kill for Giddy as he needs to try and do more as it's Ghost now in a 1v2. 3 seconds left. Diffuser going down from Giddy. A peek from the one player. The Ghost is there. He does work and both of them. Ghost, an incredible play. My goodness. He just floats right through the bomb site and does double duty to give PogChamp their 3rd round.
Triple duty if you count his impeccable gas canister placement through that round. I believe he was the one on smoke. You had both the SAS defenders being brought there, but no matter what, genius level gas canisters, that's for sure, as it was a huge factor in the delay for Polar Ace and allowed for the repositioning of the Jaeger in the end of that round. Props to PogChamp for clutching that one up, and that's got to be a backbreaker for Polar Ace, who had control for the majority of that round and certainly had the ticket for that round to go into their favor. Not so in the end, though. Well done to Polar Ace for the setup, but better job on the retake from Ghost. And again, those gas canisters just perfectly placed to delay and allow maneuvering. So, 3-1 PogChamp. And what a performance. Coming back from that early disadvantage gained by Death of Sweater stairs. You really got to admire rounds like that.
What a clutch from Smoke. We've talked about how important this operator can be and how he's able to do things that other operators can't just simply because of his loadout. An operator like Kaid, for example, he doesn't exactly have the gun, either primary or secondary, to be able to take multiple fights. And even though the TCSG has fallen out of favor and it's up to the AUG now, still not the same as the SMG-11 and the shotgun at such close range. Ghost got 3 kills that round, if I remember correctly, as he'd leveled in Rio earlier on. So, yeah, I mean, the toxic canisters were good. His ability to get kills were excellent. And then, of course, coming in when he thought that the diffuser was going down over by the default plant spot, which was the one mark that he was getting, but instead it was actually happening right by the bomb chassis, which is when he pivoted. And I think there was maybe half a second left on that diffuser that the Thermite had access to at that time. And nothing happens. That's it. Ghost clutches the round. Yeah. What a return it's been from Ghost. Honestly, man, I will say this. I like Ghost. I've rooted for Ghost's success from the start, just as a human being. I think he's quite nice. Sorry?
Bias caster.
I'm just saying. Ghost has been around a long time, and I remember him way back when he was being highly touted as one of the up-and-coming prospects for the old Pro League. And it's always been nice to see his success. So I'm glad to see him back and thriving.
Yeah, he's a great talent, and that was an impressive round. I especially like how he's aware of his circumstances. The plant going down, he knows he's in a 1v1. And instead of lingering and letting it turn to a 2v1, he pushes, takes on the 1v1, and then he knows exactly what he's going to do. Well, this guy's still planting, round over. You got to respect his awareness, his game sense. Now, half of this round has transpired. I know, surprise, right? As this has been a really strangely slow round, actually. Polar Ace has gotten control of 90, but not a whole lot else has really happened. It seems like they're going for a north side take, as they have done many times. This hasn't worked out for them as of late. Usually they get smoked off of that default plant spot, and they don't know what to do. And considering the time is so low, this is going to be very, very hard. One little cool thing is that Razor's going to be able to do some vertical pressure from underneath. I like that. He'll open up underneath the vault door, and that's going to make it difficult for PogChamp to effect change from the vault door. Sweater pushes downstairs, though, and he'll take down Razor. He comes up and just dumpsters Giddy. He's removed from the map, and now suddenly, thanks to Sweater's efforts, it's a 5v3.
It took him a while to wake up, but now he is here, and he's dropping good nights and tucking everybody into bed. So, a scary prospect for Polar Ace is a well-prepared and angry Sweater. Inryu walks right in, and it's into his death as Bear tries to remove Trippin, and a C4 goes out, which does no damage, thankfully, for Bear. But there he goes. He gets finished off by the Wamai of Prod, leaving Vivid inside of Study with 15 seconds left. I hope he's taking notes, because this has been a shellacking through the previous 3 rounds, and it looks like this will be the 4th in a row, as everybody from PogChamp just heads back into the site, and they double peek around the shield, taking out Vivid, with Prod getting the final 2 kills, 4 rounds on their defense. That means PogChamp wins the half. They've still got 1 left.
PogChamp looking a lot more dominant here on map number 2. When you compare to Oregon, this is a very one-sided affair, but keep in mind we are on defense right now for Villa, and as much as I believe this is actually an attacker-favored map in overall, yeah, it is an attacker-favored map by 2% in the U.S. division. We're not in that U.S. division, and conventionally this has been a defender-favored map throughout history, so yeah, you're going to get some differences here and there. Anyway, right now it's certainly seeming undersided, but it's also seeming like Polar Ace does not have a lot of tricks up their sleeves. The one thing that I'm noting here most of all is the strat repetition. We're seeing a lot of the same over and over and over again from Polar Ace, and it doesn't seem like they have many other plans to throw out and to try and disrupt the defensive plans of PogChamp. That will favor PogChamp. We talked about this in the lead-in. Parker made note of it, I made note of it. The depth on PogChamp is going to favor them in this strategic side of Siege, and it's always been like that. They just know more. Now, that doesn't make them better players inherently, but in situations like this, where the repetition of the strategy from Polar Ace is really causing their demise, it will cause a significant advantage for PogChamp, and you're seeing that on display here, I think.
5 seconds to go.
This trophy statuary was a tough brawl, if you remember the last time they went here, which is the one that came down to Sweater clutching it on the ground and then doing his happy dance, which was really the start of this sweataissance, if you want to call it that, over the rounds 3, 4, 5, and 6. And yes, you may use that if you so choose. Like the renaissance of Sweater.
The renaissance of sweaters?
The sweataissance.
The sweataissance?
I know I've done better in the past.
Is that what... No, I like sweataissance. Yeah, I do. That's nice. We're gonna go to the we're gonna go to the sweat fair. We're gonna dress up with sweaters and sweat at the sweat fair.
He's been doing this all day, Sweater, just smacking barricades and looking to see if he can draw somebody out or catch somebody as they try to entry, unbeknownst to them. I mean, he's got the aim for it, and he's...
You called it the sweat or famine?
I called it the feast or famine.
No, I'm pretty sure you said sweat or famine.
I'm 99% certain, Michael, I didn't.
Maybe that was me.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's okay, maybe. Anyway, we're a minute on in, and this execute from Polar Ace looks very similar, at least in its early stages, as what we saw in the last attack that they came here. There's only been one defense from PogChamp here. It was all the way back in round number 3, and it was a success, even though it got real messy and came down to a whole bunch of gunfights, just 1v1s. That was it. Most of which started over in astronomy. And the opening pick of that round had actually gone to Polar Ace, if memory serves me correctly. They're still focusing in Polar Ace quite heavily on attacking astronomy, as they'll take out the shield that was in the corner. Jarvis playing on these back stairs, waiting for somebody to push on up. There's still a goo mine there, as well as some barbed wire, so he'll be alerted to anybody making their way in that direction, but he's got to worry about the top of the stairs as well, because Giddy is there, and he's still got one frag grenade with Sam Jarvis's name written right on it.
Well, luckily, there's still a Wamai in play. Maybe things will change, but Jarvis is pretty far away. Trippin's eaten some damage from that nade, but he did get Giddy in response, so that's a better exchange for PogChamp, I'd say. Razor's incurring a lot of damage from the peak from the Astro Stairs, but he will land the headshot onto Jarvis after Jarvis gets Inrio, who has had a lackluster performance through this map. Easy holdout here for PogChamp. They just need to wait this out. We're coming down to the last 20 seconds, and the meta can start to inflict itself on the attack. But Bear will get Trippin, who had been holding on to Astro, which is a good position for the attack to have when executing into Statuary Trophy. He'll be able to do a lot of damage here. Razor gets another big kill, going for the third. He knows where his opponents are, clearly. But Sweater's still alive, and he's still gunning. He'll take down Bear, and all he needs to do is stay alive. And it hits 000. Razor has no chance unless Sweater keeps lingering, and he will. There's an easy lockout, actually, as that's a 2v1. My eyes deceived me, and Ace, Polar Ace, will lock out that round. Razor, a massive, I believe, 4K.
I think it was 4K as well, from my, unless my eyes deceive me too. Things went bad in a hurry, and that site plays out similarly to what we'd seen before, whereas it's just a brawl at the end. Final 20 seconds, everybody just hits the gas pedal, and well, just like a Crash Test Derby. They just all start smashing into each other. So a game of bumper cars, whatever you want to call it, whatever analogy or metaphor, simile, etc. you want to use, go right ahead. Regardless, they all bounce off of each other, and this time it's Polar Ace who comes out on top, as they had traded earlier, and then they got 2 uncontested kills, as you'd said, off of the play of Razor. And, you know, with Zofia, she's been a very fascinating operator to watch. It has never been more abundant to me, and I think to everybody else, that Zofia is a very uniquely situated operator who brings a ton to the table. Not only are you instrumental when it comes to your 2 explosives, you also have those 2 concussions, which work for information as they go off if they know somebody's nearby, or they also go towards disorienting people, or you just simply use them to burn a magnet or even one single ADS. And she's got a great gun and withstand as well, not to mention the fact that if there's an Ella on the board, well, she kind of counters Ella, as well as there's limited effectiveness of Ella's Guzmat mines if Zofia interacts with it. And all these players that have been playing her have honestly just been killing it in terms of the stats. And while Razor is only 6-2 and 5, he has had some very impactful rounds over Oregon and now as well on Villa. They don't win that round without him.
Yeah, no, Razor has definitely stellar so far through this map, and that's good because someone needs to step up. I think this is proving the depth of Polar Ace. You've got no. Oh no, can he get it back? Oh no! See, that's why you dry run. Like, you practice that, and then you find the exact spot, and then you know what it is, and then you go into these matches, and you don't make that mistake, and then the wall's electrocuted. Anyway, someone's got to step up where Inrio has not been performing as he had in map number 1. It's players like Giddy and Razor who are taking that slack and really holding it up for their squad. So props to them for that. And while Polar Ace is at the disadvantage, 2 attack rounds is not the end of the world on a map like Villa.
So there's something a little bit different. PogChamp was allergic to holding this side of the map when they were defending over on Aviator. It was a very different setup and structure than they had before. But Polar Ace have obviously sunk quite a bit into the 90 defense. You can see there's an ADS, you can see there's a deployable shield, you can see that there's an ACOG in the hands of the Doc, and shooting through that through the wall will allow a greater line of sight over towards Master should somebody from the attacking side peek that out and not be aware of it. But real close to it is Sweater, who's waiting to see if the Doc is going to have any coverage, and there it goes. Sweater gets punished by Enrio, playing at the top of red stairs. Another kill from Polar Ace will be Vivid's, though, as he shreds through Jarvis. Prod finds Vivid in a trade-off. Enrio still lurks in the depths, and his position has not been given away. The HP on PogChamp's side tells a very convincing story right now of Polar Ace being in firm control of this round. Still a minute to go. Trippin basically dead. Ghost about halfway, 3/4 of the way to death. It's going to be on Prod to try and hold all this together, because if you get into any kind of engagement, both Ghost and Trippin are likely to die before they're able to do much damage themselves.
This is just about the same crossfire that we saw in the match earlier today in the Canadian division. You set up someone on red stairs, someone on 90, and no one can push past that threshold. Prod is going to get Razor, though, and almost gets Enrio, but he'll get his second kill, actually. And you talked about how important Prod was going to be, and he's not going to be able to do anything here as well. Actually, look at that. Polar Ace completely sweeps it up. Down goes PogChamp. Easy lockout there for Polar Ace. The crossfire working out great between 90 and red stairs. And then from there, the adjustments from PogChamp just were not enough to get the picks necessary to bring that back into the attacking team's favor. Great holdout there from Polar Ace.
That 90 defense from Polar Ace was pitch perfect. The Doc playing by the deployable shield with an ADS meant that there was almost no way for you to contest him, especially given the fact that most of the players on PogChamp are not running ACOGs. Yeah, obviously it doesn't make that big of a difference, but having the ACOG will give you a slight, ever so slight advantage, especially when you're playing through the soft destruction that the Doc was playing at. Additionally, the setup was good. I gave a knock to Polar Ace on Oregon with how they didn't seem like they had structured their defenses all that well. It seemed like a lot of it was just pugilistic defense. They just basically went on offense, but on defense. And I mean, it worked on a map like Oregon. I don't know if it'll work on a map like Villa, but that was definitely a very offensive defense for Polar Ace, how they played on 90. During the Canada Division, we saw the Maestro playing there behind the shield. You noted that. We talked about it at length during the Canada Division match, and now you see the same thing from the Doc played in that position.
10 seconds to go.
PogChamp could not get out of trophy statuary. They got sunk. It was like it was entirely made of quicksand, and they just couldn't free themselves. And every step they seemed to make to try to get themselves loose, they just sunk deeper and deeper as they lost body after body, and Polar Ace didn't even need to break a sweat when it came to any kind of execute on site.
So a south side clear here from PogChamp. Now if we confront Razor at the top of main. Not gonna be easy considering the setup here. The magnets on the wall to protect against the nades that will protect the shield, which will allow Razor to continue to play at the top of main. But if he gets pressured from the main stairs, that's a different story. He might fall off. Active drone there and camera as well. Razor's already falling back. He is playing very passively there. I think at this point, Razor's recognized how much time he's wasted, and he says, I'm getting out of there. So he makes it back to the side. Just fine. Whoa, look at an angle. Look at that. Oh, wow. Okay, I'm not sure who that was. Looks like it was Prod. Does a lot of damage to Razor, so that actually almost results in a kill. But because of how far Prod was, he had a small window of opportunity to get the kill and only landed 2 body shots.
Reload!
I like seeing angles like that, by the way.
Yeah.
And I think it's nice for the people who view it as well. There's some things that we see in these level of plays that you and I always kind of remark afterwards. Oh yeah, you're gonna see that one in ranked.
You'll probably not see that one in ranked just because it requires coordination. The reason he's there is to cut off the rotation. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean but you're gonna, somebody somewhere is gonna die to it, and they're gonna be pissed off about it anyway. Razor and Bear have scooted on over towards Master Windows. We are halfway through this round deceptively fast, just as some rounds that we've seen on Villa where we've been captivated by early action as these teams seem set to try to control the pacing as they want. Great shot from Prod. He finished off what he'd started earlier against Razor as the Wamai tries to peek the master bedroom window and gets sat down. What he doesn't seem to know, though, is that Bear is nearby playing inside of the closet, and a missed frag grenade from Prod may entice Bear to get into a bit of action. If this Mozzie has not been droned out, Prod will likely vault in and be doomed.
I'm sure that Bear's position must be known, right? It doesn't seem so, though, as, well, Prod actually had his nade out, but he'll still kill Bear as he face checks his way into the closet. Giddy does get tripping, though, on the master door, and that's defused down. That'll need to be retrieved. There's a big step there. Still man advantage for... Oh, look at that shot from Jarvis. Only 2 more for Polar Ace, and it's looking like PogChamp should be able to clean this up. But Vivid does get Sweater, and we're getting low on time. 1 gas canister for Vivid, who gets his 2nd kill, gets aggressive, and gets shut down. Nice try there for Vivid, but it's just not enough in the end. PogChamp secure their first attacking round.
The big man himself, Prod. He's the one that I wanted to watch and see how he played against that Mozzie inside of the closet, and that fight right there could have really boiled down and been crucial in this round as, well, the Mozzie wins the fight. Prod's not able to grab that diffuser. He's not able to take up any control inside of Master. Master control is never given for PogChamp, and the Mozzie just hangs out. This is cool as a cucumber, but doesn't end up happening. Prod comes in, he makes his presence known, 3 big kills and some nifty angle play that was touted at that start of the round. Trophy statuary yet again, as Aviator seemed to be relatively effortless for Polar Ace, but they're going to have to work for a victory on this bomb site. If they fail to win here, it means that PogChamp goes on to match point, though Aviator will unlock. A victory here means Aviator still unlocks and gives Polar Ace a great opportunity to tie it up over the next 2 rounds, but we'll see. We've been speculating an awful lot, actually, on these teams, and I mean, when you've got... I don't want to say unknowns because I think that sounds rude, but when you've got question marks and you don't know...
Heckin' nobodies.
You're just a bunch of chumps.
Whoever heard of these guys?
Who's Jervs? Some Jervs.
Some nerves.
No, I mean, when you have 2 teams who there's very limited footage on in their current incarnation.
Yeah.
You don't know their map pool. You don't know exactly how comfortable they are on all these roles, though they've swapped up roles a number of times. Jarvis seems to be the flex pick when it comes to what he is or isn't playing. Whether he wants to play on a nice comfy 2-speed with a gun with low recoil, whether he wants to play on a very aggressive role with lots of action, I mean, that's really up to him. The same applies to Polar Ace. You don't know exactly their level of aggressiveness. You don't know their map pool. They picked Villa. You expect them to be doing well on it, but they've been trailing. They won round number 1. Since then, they have trailed the remainder of this match. They have trailed for 7 rounds after the fact. That doesn't give you much hope that they know this map well. Is it because that PogChamp is just better, or Polar Ace having a bad day? That's what I said. When you don't know these things, you have too many questions, and unfortunately, the only way to answer them is to wait.
Guess we're about to find out, though, as we are getting dangerously close to this being a 2-0. PogChamp need but 2 more rounds to achieve that result. That's how maths work. Trippin working his way into Aviator. Good drone work being employed here by PogChamp. Now, the crossfire is not here as it once was, because obviously you're defending on the other side of that top red 90 position. So Polar Ace gonna have to do some different stuff in order to take this round. It's currently the set looking solid.
A bomb has been located.
It looks like there's some adjustment over to the master side for PogChamp. They'll be able to establish a crossfire if they have master control, but you can see Inrio's in a position to get aggressive on that one lone attacker going over to master. If Prod loses that fight to Inrio, then Polar Ace have the crossfire in their favor, and then when the site push comes out, PogChamp probably will be torn asunder.
To shreds, you say?
To shreds, yes.
To shreds, you say? Droning inside of the bathroom, and, well, the Valkyrie is spotted. Or rather, not the Valkyrie. That looked like the Valkyrie. That was the Mozzie. I looked for a second, and I was like, wait, Valk's banned. I was like, why does that look like Valk's battle uniform? So strange. I've done that a couple times with SAS operators, by the way, before I get back in here, where it's like you look at them and you're like, oh yeah, that's mute. Oh, and smoke. Okay, yeah, well, I'm just totally wrong.
It's the operator. It's the skins. You can't tell sometimes.
The old Chimera ones, the yellow ones, where you're like, oh, I killed Zofia. Actually, no, that was Finka. Wait, that was Buck? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Anyway, 30 seconds left. We can talk about skins another day. This setup right now for Polar Ace is eagerly awaiting PogChamp's entry into the bomb site, and PogChamp will need to pick their targets. As it's a double stack over towards the bomb chassis, there's one, and the opening pick will come from Prod. He was huge on this bomb site before. Trippin is unable to get the plant off as he takes a lot of damage. The Jaeger gets punished from Prod, his second kill, but there goes the diffuser. Ghosted on the action, and Sweater is there as well. Match point for PogChamp. It might be ugly and it might be messy, but it's still a victory, and they'll take it. They're 1 round away from a 2-0 victory over Polar Ace.
What a collapse there from PogChamp. Swept into the bomb site and left no prisoners. PogChamp were in a decent position, but ultimately it was that master spot that buckled and allowed for the clean sweep in through by PogChamp. Props for the aggression. We came very close to that being a loss on time, too. That's the scary thing. But at the same time, well, there wasn't a lot of places for Polar Ace to hide. I mean, what are you going to do in that kind of scenario? There's no choice. So they tried to get into those fights, they lost them, and well, there you go. Collapse for the defense. So, as you mentioned, Parker, match point here. And, well, it's going to be an Aviator Games defense in an attempt to bring this one to OT. But 3 rounds in a row, I don't know about that, especially considering how bad defense has been for Polar Ace thus far.
Yeah, there's been some troubling signs here from Polar Ace, but we seem to be at the exact phase of this matchup where Polar Ace wins a really, really tight, close round and then carries that momentum all the way to overtime. Because that was the exact same story of map 1 on Oregon when PogChamp did that to Polar Ace. You know, you have to look at Polar Ace. In round 9 they go on to match point, and then round 15 they lose the match. As they go back on a match point in round 13. Momentum is obviously a big thing here, and it tends to be even larger for teams that don't have the best experience together or the longest tenure together. You know that people get emotional, you know that people let nerves get to them, and a hallmark, or trademark rather, of a really good team is how much ice there is in their veins, and they don't let pressure get to them. We've seen even some of the best teams in the world let pressure completely sink them in very winnable situations. The same applies absolutely to amateur teams, and it definitely seems like Polar Ace is a momentum-based team. They have fallen off since coming to Villa. They obviously, started out really strong on Oregon and then flamed out to a certain extent.
Angle to 90 here by Prod, who has been a key performer for PogChamp so far through this map. 11 kills, and he's looking real solid. It's not one map yet by PogChamp, but I really gotta appreciate how everyone on the team is really picking up slack here. And that's you don't see that all the time. Look at that. The angle worked out for Prod. He gets Giddy, who was peeking the window. Nade goes out and is cooked perfectly, apparently. He'll take down Razor. That was... I thought that Razor was going to be able to get away from that, but not so.
Bear is just watching his entire team fall around him. He was the kingmaker last time by playing in this position, and it could have been another kill for Prod if Bear hadn't retreated as fast as he did. He'll toss all the drones at him in the world as it's a 5v3 that favors PogChamp with match point still in their clutches, and this map could be over before it's even gotten started. 1 minute left, and PogChamp's entry towards the site continues onwards. On the flank is in Rio. There's a Claymore waiting on the stairs for him. Whether he sees it or not is anybody's guess, as it's going to be red on red. But he goes to the other stairwell instead. I don't know if there's a call that's been made or not, but he decides that, well, there's better opportunities for him, and he'll go to possibly greener pastures, and I don't quite mean that literally. Watching the entry into the bomb site is Bear. He'll fire away with the MP5 and take down Jarvis as he's going to get flashed and knocked around. Inrio gets spotted and he's taken down as well. So Polar Ace only has 2 members up. Ghost will have to choke on some of the smoke, with Sweater to take out Vivid, and it's all on the shoulders of Bear. He didn't die from the spot previously. This time around, I don't think you can say the same. He rushes out, he manages to take down Sweater, 3 more targets for him, and a diffuser planted as well, with 40 seconds now as the clock begins. He has patience and time working at his disposal. His path in, it's through the study. And they're going to make him have to learn to play against them, as he's got a deployable shield. 25 seconds, still 1 stim pistol left. I think at this point he realizes, why prolong the inevitable? He sprints headfirst into PogChamp as they take the series 2-0. Stealing Polar Ace's map on Villa.
Solid map there from PogChamp and a great lockout in the end. Prod really proving himself in that map, and while it was a really nice effort by Polar Ace, it just wasn't enough on map number 2.
No. Like I've said so many times, close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. And speaking of hand grenades, Prod, what a map, what a series from him. He ended up picking up the slack in Oregon as well, even though Sweater was by far and away the flashier player. But PogChamp doesn't go up 2-0 if Prod doesn't have some of the biggest games out of him that I've ever seen. And he needs a lot of credit for the way that he played that. He was getting droned in quite effectively in a sledge. If you're going to be one of the main points of entry, you got to be able to capitalize off the information that your teammates are feeding you. We'll bring in Jackie, though, as we go into the post-game analysis after that match.
Hey, gentlemen. PogChamp 7-3 beating Polar Ace. So, Intero, you did call parts of this matchup sloppy. What do you think that these teams could have done better?
I mean, I don't know what they could have done better. I just think that Oregon is a bit of a sloppy map for certain teams as they're still trying to figure it out. And I mean, it's not as strategic as a map like Clubhouse. It's not as strategic a map as Villa, even Cafe to a certain extent. It wasn't as strategic as Bank. Smaller maps that are kind of linear tend to play out this way. For a team like Polar Ace, I think that they just need to continue to work on their strategies. That's it. We saw on Villa a lot more sophistication, which is a word I will continue to go back and use, from their defenses. Sophistication, of course, helping them out tremendously, and you saw how much PogChamp struggled against them when they were attacking that first Aviator bomb site. PogChamp did not know how to deal with the 90 control. That's good, but that was only one time, and PogChamp knew how to tackle it the second time they had to go against it. You need a deep well of strategies, and you need to be confident in the way that you change things up, either mid-round or at the start of the round, depending on what you see out of the operator pick phase. And I just don't think Polar Ace is a veteran enough team to know how to deal with that just yet when you're going up against good competition like PogChamp.
In Kicks, we heard Intero talking about mental toughness. Polar Ace looked less impressive on map 2. What do you think happened?
Well, there's certainly a chance that it could have been a breakdown behind the lines for Polar Ace. After map number 1 came so very close, and it just weren't able to make it happen in the end. But I will say, to the credit of Polar Ace, even if that is the case, they still had some very basic setups, some very basic strategies being employed on Villa, so they at least managed to maintain that. And if it wasn't working very well, sure, you know, that could have to do with their mental fortitude, crumbling a little bit, but at the same time, they were setting up and doing their jobs to some extent, and some teams completely collapsed, like what we saw earlier today in the Canadian division.
Yes. Well, let's take a look at today's bracket and recap what we just saw. And Tara, why don't you take that away?
Gladly, I'll walk us through it yet again. Well, the group standings are completed. Rent-Free finishes first, as we knew going into this matchup, given their 2-0 victory over PogChamp. PogChamp defeating Polar Ace means that, well, Poggers, they're in second place. Sorry, I had to get it out of my system. Polar Ace finishes third, and Spiker dead last, going out without a single map. Not exactly what you want, but for a lot of these teams, stage 1 was a learning experience. This isn't where you fight for your spot to get into relegations. This is an opportunity for you to play well, to make some money, gain some meaningful experience, and play in a competition or at a level that you may not have played in before.
All right, and let's take a look at what next week's matchup is going to be. And we're actually going to be seeing the Canadian Challenger League for a change, right, Kix?
Yeah, we'll take a look at that as we bring it on up for you guys. And I'm interested to see how that one's going to play out, considering what we've been seeing in the Canadian division. Hopefully we'll have a graphic for that, and if not, I guess I'm just not sure what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we weren't able to pull that graphic up there. But gentlemen, thank you so much. We had a lot of fun today. The Canadian division is over. Challenger League matchup just wrapped up. So we just want to wish everyone a happy Friday. Great job casting to y'all. And we will see you next week. We got some awesome pro play on Monday and on Wednesday. So everyone have a lovely weekend. Bye.